Do we have a quorum?
Live.
1, 2,
Yes.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yes. Okay, welcome to the first Transportation Committee meeting of CV7 of 2026. I'm Ken Coughlin, co-chair. This is Sophia
Paula.
Noah,
Hi.
co-chair. We have two new members. One of them was going to be joining remotely. He's on as a waiver for travel, Howard Wolfson. If he comes on, I was going to have him introduce himself, but we have another new member, Eric Schmidt.
Yep.
And maybe you could introduce yourself and if you have any relationship to transportation other than crossing the street.
Hi, yeah, my name is Eric Schmidt. I recently switched from preservation to this committee. I'm also on BCI. And this is my first year on the community board.
Well,
And yes, I ride the subway and walk places, so.
Well, we're all in the same boat. So,
Just before we continue, okay, I see some people here like calling. If you want to talk or present during the meeting, or if we have any board members, if you just can remember to raise your hand and I'll promote you to panelist. Thank you.
so the first thing we have to do is adopt the agenda. All in favor of adopting the agenda? Okay. It's apparently adopted. So our first agenda item is sanitation.
I see Elizabeth is here
Elizabeth,
remotely
Elizabeth, she had a waiver also for travel.
for travel.
Yeah.
Is that gonna? We can't fix that.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's going.
Hi, everyone.
Great. Marissa, thank you so much for coming tonight. Just some background. We invited the sanitation department to join us tonight to kind of ride the momentum that Alex had on his ride along with DSNY. So I don't know if Alex, you want to talk a little bit about that, your experience, and then we can move to Marissa.
Yeah, I gotta go quickly, but yeah, I had an amazing. Oh, can you hear me? Yes, you can. I had an amazing ride along with DSNY, and we met 9:30, and it was super cold out. But I went along behind the Sweet Streeper trucks and enforcement, and I mean, it was just wild because the system, it just appears totally broken. So people just don't move at all. Even like when sanitation is actively telling people to move, the truck is going like painfully slow. Like I can walk faster than the truck is going because they're trying to get around slash all these people who are just not moving. And then, like you can see in this picture, people are just like actively reversing down streets, like honking, get out of my way as people are trying to move around. So it was just like completely eye-opening. The DSNY crew is amazing. But our fellow New Yorkers are like actively thwarting like the efforts of people in the city to clean. And like I also saw them dump the truck a few times. Like it's picking up a lot of very nasty things. Like leaves, but also lots of like disgusting, dirt and debris and stuff. And I'm sure the DSNY crew will tell you like when we have these giant water events and everything floods, a lot of it's because all this stuff is being not cleaned and is ending up in storm drains. And it has actually huge knock-on effects besides being incredibly inefficient to just kind of not uh yeah, follow it. So yeah, it was an amazing experience. I had a great time. And there's definitely a massive problem here. It's just like our fellow neighbors are yeah, like actively thwarting the DSNY from doing their job.
You sound surprised at that, Alex. I mean, on my block, people will not move their cars. Sometimes it's a month before one side gets cleaned.
Yeah.
That's how bad
I
it's
mean,
done.
I think that
Yeah.
the thing that was super interesting to me, and maybe we should try replicating this with other stuff. Like I would love to, I should just ride the bus for like 3 hours as another example, because I feel like you see it day to day. Like, right, I walk out of my building, I see, okay, the DSNY is being blocked. but somehow like doing it for an hour and a half made it like so clear to me it's every block. Whereas similarly, probably if I sat on the bus, I'd be like, my God, everyone is blocking the bus lane. It wouldn't just be like an anecdotal, I'm on the M5, this is what's happening. It would be like, oh man, this is like, systematic. So yeah, I don't know why I was so surprised, but yeah, it was wild.
What day of the week was it? Where was it? What time was it? And
It
what
was
were the alternate side rules?
Yeah, it was 9:30 to 11. We started on 91st and Riverside. We kind of went down Riverside a little bit, um, which was interesting because that's 2 lane. You would have thought that it wouldn't be as much blocked, but it also blocked because everyone would like pull out and block the oncoming lane. But then we turned down 89th Street, or we turned up down 88th Street, and then we went up and down to 84th. And then what would happen was we would fill up the hopper or whatever it's called, and then we would pause for 15 minutes and dump the hopper and come back to the route. But yeah, it was 9:30 to 11. And this was December 5th, 91st to 84th, West End, Riverside, a little bit Broadway. Um, yeah, and it was, I don't know, it was whatever it is. It was one side of the street was supposed to be clear, or it was that kind of parking thing.
Well, I assume the side of the street that was supposed to be clear was the side that they were attempting to sweep.
Right.
Not the side where parking was permitted. From 9:30 to 11.
Right,
It
yeah,
had
yeah,
to-
we obviously went during ASP hours for the side that had ASP that day. It was a
Okay.
Friday, yes.
Were people in their cars or just?
Yeah, I mean, like
Yeah.
there were some people, like there's a lot, like, I would say every 3 spots it was blocked by someone, or most of it was blocked. Some of it, I would say half of the time there was someone in the car. But the thing with the person in the car that I didn't realize beforehand is, so like sanitation's behind, they're honking, move. A lot of people just sat there.
Oh, yeah.
They just sat there in the car. So then, like, sanitation, like, when the NYPD would go by, NYPD might not try ticketing. Like, Glenn would be like, hey, you have to move. You can't just sit there. But then, even he would give them a little bit of, like, okay, you're there. And then they would, like, pretend to move, right? And then Glenn would be like, start walking. But anyway, being in the car actually almost hurt it because, like, you'd think they were going to move, but they wouldn't move. They would just sit there. And then DSNY would honk, 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 and then just have to go around.
They don't want to give up that parking space.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Given that helpful information, Marissa, yeah, I think we just wanted to know about the importance of this issue, and then also the legislations that is coming forward that you can tell us about and how it can be helpful.
Yeah, for sure. So thank you, Alex. I was there that day with Superintendent Alex. We had a very lovely morning. Didn't get into too many fights, but your neighbors really don't like to move their vehicles. It is a daily basis. We don't get to really finish a route with our street sweeper because of that. And it's almost, I'm actually surprised that the sweeper was even full, that we were able to even dump it. Cause you're just kind of running in the middle of the street. And a lot of people decided they would just triple park, especially on Riverside. Instead of getting out of the way and going forward, like going downtown, they would make a U-turn in front of the uptown traffic and just caused what could have been a 10-car pileup. It was just constantly happening. So it was also incredibly dangerous. So if it is ASP day, I hold children by the hand. It is incredibly hard to walk the streets. No one is paying attention to anything. So that is a large, really big issue that we have at sanitation. It's not every second that we can have a supervisor or a superintendent following the broom as well. We have other duties that we have to do, and there's not as many supervisors. There's not one per broom. I don't have 10 additional supervisors per district to do that. And then if we get a call about something like a dump out, or let's say somebody dumped a mattress on Broadway in 96, okay, we need to send that supervisor there to go check it out. So you might be pulled very quickly, and it's an hour and a half. Even the superintendent, when I was with him, Superintendent Baldwin, we couldn't stay the whole hour and a half because he had to go finish our paperwork. We just have other tasks to do. And we don't want the sweeper, the operator just blaring on the horn, because no one's gonna be happy with us if we do that. 9:30 to 11 is a little later in the day, but some of it starts 7:30 in the morning, 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning, so some people are on their way to work, they maybe didn't get up yet, you start work a little later, you work from home. So we definitely don't wanna just piss off everybody by doing that. And this may just be something, I don't know if everyone knows, the operator is a sanitation worker inside the street sweeper. He does not have, he or she does not have the ability to issue a violation. That is only a supervisor and a superintendent and chief. So everyone's like, well, why doesn't he do something about it? I'm like, well, he technically can. He's not gonna get out of the vehicle, because that would also take time. If we're waiting for every time for him to get out, like the superintendent did, as you saw in the video, when he got out pretty much often to issue a violation. And I was helping him put the tickets in the little envelopes and pass it back. He had to go back out to the car. It just takes a tremendous amount of time. Yes, sir.
Why can't he simply take a picture with his phone and then you send the summons or the penalty or whatever to the person in the mail?
Because we have to see it in action and we're right
Well,
there.
you're looking right at it and you take a picture. That's, what more action do you need than that?
So then you want us to fill it out later on in the day?
Well, why, presumably there's some revenue attached to it because they're be getting, the vehicle owners will be getting fines. So.
Right, we
yeah.
just, we have to put it on the vehicle at that time. That
Why?
was just, it's protocol. That's what we're supposed to do.
This doesn't sound like a good protocol.
Okay,
What's the, remind me, the alternates side parking? Is no parking.
correct.
Is it also a violation to be in the car standing? Or no parking versus no standing?
Yes, you cannot park there. If we see you in the vehicle, sitting in your car, we will ask you to leave. 9 times out of 10, as we're approaching, you're gonna leave. You're gonna drive away or at least get away from us. So that we can't even give you a ticket, which is good. We don't wanna give you a ticket. We just want you to get out of the way so we can clean.
But if the car is occupied,
Right.
so that's considered standing versus parking.
Oh, I'm sorry. I see what you're saying. Then no, we
I
can't
mean,
give
we
you a
have
ticket.
signs that say no standing.
Right, I'm sorry. I didn't know what you meant.
So,
Yeah, then we can't give you a ticket.
so these people that, you know, Alex was showing us in their cars,
Yeah,
as things stand now, that's not a violation.
we're not saying it's not a violation. We just can't give a ticket because technically you're not parking, you're standing. But we're hoping that if I'm looking at you right through the windshield,
No, I
that you'll
understand.
actually move the
I
vehicle.
understand you expect people to cooperate, but I just wanted to understand what is actually a violation, a traffic violation. And what is it?
Okay,
Also, can you tell us what the schedule is? Like how often these sweepers are scheduled? I mean,
well, each block was gonna be, every block is
I
completely
can't
different. That I
remember
can't look
the
up.
last
I can
time
only remember
saw
my
a
own block.
sweeper.
No, it should be 2 times on one block or 2 times on the other side of the block,
How often?
2 times a week.
Yeah.
So normally in Manhattan, I think I'm only once a week on either side, but I live in Brooklyn. Like everybody is different.
Yeah, we have two sides,
Or you have no ASP at
twice a
all.
week. each-
Okay,
Each side,
So
so
you
4
have-
days a week.
yeah, okay, so you have north side is twice, Tuesday, Thursday, the other side is Wednesday, Friday, let's say. I made that up.
Yeah, you did, but
And they
you're right.
sweep all of the, supposed, scheduled to sweep all of.
Correct. Right. And you only have an hour and a half to finish the route.
Where do they dump them?
What you just saw inside
Yeah, where
another,
was it?
that was up on Broadway and I think 100th Street. Cause it was near Mama's. Yeah, I think it was like around 100th Street,
What do they dump into? What is?
Another,
in a garbage truck.
Oh, okay.
The sweeper dumps into the garbage, because it goes like that, dumps into a garbage truck.
So just getting back to the person sitting in his car who refuses to move, you have no enforcement power over that person, right?
Well, sometimes we get assistance from NYPD.
Well, what could NYPD do?
I think they can give a ticket
For what?
For what?
for not moving their vehicle.
For blocking the sweeper?
Yes, I think they can, but I don't think we're
They
allowed
have.
to.
I've seen
I've
that.
seen them do that. I haven't seen. us
Signs are
do it.
posted, when the alternate side is and from what hours, you know, it's
Yeah, but,
pretty clear.
but I think
no
those signs
standing
say
or
no
parking,
parking.
yeah, so
And there are distinctions. We all
maybe there's
see,
another
There is a-
violation.
there are things, you know, there are zones curbside zones where standing is not permitted, so you can't even like drop off somebody. They can't go there.
Maybe the NYPD knows another citation of not
I just-
failing to yield to
I
a
think-
city vehicle or something, or.
I mean, I didn't know this discussion was gonna take place. I would have checked Google the law and see what it is, but I think there's a distinction. That there may be
Okay.
some obstructions, statutes or something like that, but like you said, you can't just being in your car at that location is not a violation.
And you're saying you need an NYPD officer to.
I'm saying I think they have a different, their enforcement book is different than
I
mine.
think we should find.
We'll ask the traffic sergeant at one of the.
Yeah.
But as far as she's knows, the
Marissa.
sanitation people
Well, the
can't
sanitation, we can't do
can't
it,
do anything.
no matter what.
Well, maybe we need legislation like the bus lanes. You have a camera and they take a picture. It's
Right.
that simple.
Right.
I think, we can
That's-
sit here and like wring our hands, but there are simple solutions to this.
Yeah.
Put cameras on the sweepers, on the
Yeah.
brooms.
Yeah,
That's
Well,
what's being
there's
proposed.
Oh, yeah, okay,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
good,
Oh,
okay,
We're
That's
gonna
what
be
we're
discussing.
gonna hear about, yeah.
excellent.
anyway, please go on.
I have no information about the legislation. I looked it up today and it was submitted by Robert Holden, nothing, and he's no longer a council member. But I think it has to go back to committee because nothing has been submitted to us. It is still just an idea. It's
Yeah.
not anything that's been given to us.
Yeah, my
If it becomes
latest
law, we can talk
understanding is
about
that Gail actually co-sponsored it, but it expired in the last legislative session, so
Right.
hopefully they'll reintroduce it.
And don't know who's in the sanitation committee.
Is it Brea? I think he's,
He was the chair, but
Right.
that could change this month
right.
with the new
Okay.
speaker.
Right.
So that could all change. But if Gail is, I'm sorry, Councilor Brewer is still
Mhm,
in the committee, then she could always propose it.
mhm.
Or if anybody else cares about it. When you find out who the NAIC chair is, you could definitely reach out to their office.
But there's also state legislation. You,
I have no
you
idea.
don't know about that?
No.
Did
It's not my new
anybody
job yet,
Look
so I
at the, anybody look at the link that we had in the agenda? I tried to read through the legislation. I should have sent it to Jay. He could have
State
decided.
legislation
State,
Mhm,
yeah,
on this subject?
yes,
mhm.
yeah. We have an agenda, Jay, on our website. and It tells you what we're gonna talk about at the meeting. It's like, it's amazing.
What a concept.
It's a form of mini protest. For all the years that we'd walk in here and we'd have paper agendas.
Well, we're saving paper. So, and we're saving the Amazon.
Yeah, but we're using more electricity.
But anyway, the state legislation, as far as I could tell, would set up a pilot program, although it was like, 20 pages long and reading, I gotta confess, I didn't read through the whole thing, but I couldn't find anything about what the scope of the pilot project was. And also it would only give, the ticket that it would give is $50 for a camera violation. And I think it's $65 is the normal ticket. Is that what it is?
No, I didn't think so. I thought it was 50. I could be
Oh,
wrong.
it's 50 even if you
If we see you in person,
see it in person.
I thought so. Yeah, I could be wrong. I don't have the enforcement book in front of me.
Some reason I thought it was 65, but either one of them seems pretty low.
If you send me the bill number, I'm happy to take a look at it.
Okay.
If you get 3 or more violations, maybe they can just dump the trash on your car.
You sure they don't do it already?
Great, I think that's helpful. Anything else you wanna add or?
No,
Okay.
pardon me,
Yeah,
you used
yeah,
to, I don't know if you guys still do it, but sometimes there were stickers that were put on a car that said the street was not clean due to your
Yeah, I've seen
vehicle.
those.
Do you guys still do that?
I don't personally have those. No.
I think that
haven't
was
seen them in a while.
decades ago.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I heard Gail say it might be coming back. I think it requires legislation.
What's that?
There were stickers that would be adhered to and
Oh, I
showed,
remember
or,
they used to do
and
that.
it said the
Yeah.
street was not clean due to your vehicle not being moved. And then I believe, I do believe that sticker was really hard to get off. It's like, the type of glue they used was not something you.
Is that from personal experience?
No, I don't have a car, but I just thought I saw it,
Should we have a resolution calling for strict, this is not something that can't be solved.
Right. Right. We could talk about a resolution. Unfortunately, we don't have any city legislation to say we support, but we could say we would support camera enforcement. And that's pretty simple.
Yep.
Well, but there was a framework of the bill that expired and we could reference that
Yeah,
and,
Yeah,
for it to be reintroduced.
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
If we agree with the framework.
Contact Gail's office, see if it's
Yeah.
gonna be,
I'm sure it's gonna get reintroduced.
get typically what they do when they roll over to a new session is the members take all the bills that they introduced that have now expired, and they introduce them all again. So it is likely.
Right.
Rachel, I saw you had a comment in the back.
Yes, a few things. First of all, if I'm looking at the data correctly, last year, 2025, interestingly, the traffic enforcement agents issued 1.29 million street cleaning violations, whereas sanitation delivered just under 500,000. So it's actually the police and meter maids who are giving more tickets than
Just get
sanitation.
picked up on the microphone.
Yeah, maybe you need to come
Yeah.
up, so.
I'll talk later. So, if I'm looking at the data properly, last
come
year.
forward.
You gotta.
You
be
gotta
there
come
so
really
that-
close
so-
to the owl here.
Last year, the traffic enforcement agents, the meter maids, which roll up to PD, issued 1.29 million violations, whereas sanitation delivered just under 500,000. Which is neither here nor there, but interesting. One thought I have is, I mean, ultimately, this gets to the issue that Howard's brought up so many times of curb use. And the reason that it's such an issue is that people don't want to give up their parking spots because we're giving away free parking and people are just desperate to get those spots and don't want to give them up. There's also a huge issue, and I had written an article about this a few years ago, of air pollution. That both with people cruising around looking for parking spots, they say 30% of the driving in New York City is people looking for parking spots. A lot of that is because of alternate side parking. There's also, if you go out on any street with alternate side parking during the hour and a half that you're not allowed to park, all those cars that are parked, many of them are idling, which is spewing out a ton of pollutants. Whilst people sit in their cars waiting for the street to not even get cleaned because the trucks can't do the route. So I think enforcement's a part of it, but there also should be enforcement of people idling more than the 3 minutes that are legally allowed. And there's the bigger issue of, this all falls into the issue of there's so much more demand for parking than there's supply. And the way it's manifesting is that people are taking the spots and not wanting to move out of them even when they're being forced to.
By the way, this is Rich Robbins, who used to be a member of this committee. And another issue is it's either $50 or $65.
It's 65.
Which is, on a monthly basis, is $240. I guess if it's twice a week, then it would be.
That's assuming perfect enforcement.
Assuming perfect
Which
enforcement.
nowhere
It's
near.
about $500 a month, which is still cheaper than most garages.
Do
So
those 2 billion tickets have anything to do with street sweeping?
Those are all
Are
for
they
street
just-
sweeping.
Huh?
That's all for street
Just-
cleaning.
Just
Alternate
for
side of the
what?
street parking, you mean, or?
If they're labeled, no parking street cleaning
Hmm.
is the category of violation.
Which is basically all of the alternate side.
Is there any movement to increase the fine? I don't know how long it's been that way, but it seems kind of nominal.
I would say that should be part of any resolution.
Yep.
That would come out of the city council. We can't raise the fine on our own.
And then there's a question of how many of the fines are collected. I imagine a lot of the out-of-state plates aren't paying the fine.
What I've noticed when somebody has gotten a traffic ticket is they actually leave it in their windshield. So on the next day of alternate side, they don't usually get another one because they think it was just given to them. So they play in the game.
Any other violations that we know about? That we can add to the discussion, which started with street sweepers?
Well, we're only trying to solve the problem of people, not moving their cars. That's what's before us. So I think we have 3 things so far.
Well,
by the-
also to play
By the
devil's
way,
advocate. oh, sorry.
Andrew Ridge is,
Andrew, yeah,
see, got a waiver?
Yes.
Yes,
Have you seen his paw? His
Wait,
foot?
yes, I have. Sorry, I didn't, I have I believe I have a waiver. I sent an email, just,
when did you send?
just before, so you may not have seen it.
Before, I didn't get it, but
That's
That's
okay,
fine.
but
the waiver is granted.
I'll play devil's advocate, oddly enough. This is
For
a
what?
picture of my
Yeah.
street. Oh, sorry, did you want? On alternate
Nothing about
side.
it.
do I need to announce? The reason is because I had foot
Well, not
surgery.
you, the chairs of committees that grant waivers are supposed to go on record with what the reason is.
Okay, yes, you're right. Andrew, could you tell us the reason?
Yes, it is in the email. I had foot surgery, so I just transferred into my boot today, so hopefully I'll be more mobile and childcare.
Okay,
Get better
Okay,
sight.
talking about
Thank you.
mobility, this, I don't know if you can see, is a picture of, a typical picture of alternate side. On my block, they drive on the sidewalk, and this is a routine occurrence. And I'll tell you, if I had a kid on that street, the level of profanity is off the charts at a volume you could not imagine. It is total, you can see the cars on the sidewalk, and it's a nightmare. So something needs to be done.
Surprised they could get on the sidewalk,
Oh,
with
wow.
all the e-bikes riding.
No, there are actually a few curb cuts on that sidewalk because there were garages from way back.
increase.
Okay.
And maybe.
You mean keep away your phone.
That's okay.
The sticker.
Okay.
So something clearly needs to be done.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, assuming we all agree this is a problem that
Yes.
needs to be solved.
Yeah.
Which I think it is. So far we have, as part of a proposed resolution to reintroduce the city legislation, which would initiate a camera enforcement program, to increase the fine. I don't think, I don't know, we prepared to give a number or just say to a meaningful figure.
$1,000.
You know, in Finland, they link it to your income. Someone got a $50,000 speeding ticket.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
I think we just deduct it from your credit card.
We could do that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It'd probably make a
Wow.
decent amount of money off
Maybe it should be increasing depending on how many times you're doing this.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I bet you a lot of the violations that were given to vehicles like the delivery vehicles do the collective bargaining. thing
On
where
the
they
ACE cameras
discount.
for the bus system, those do increase. And after so many, you can actually have your registration suspended for your vehicle, so.
Mhm.
So, Sophia's drafting something, as we're talking.
And then the third is restarting the sticker
And the
program.
third thing.
Oh, great idea.
Mhm.
Oh, so-
Could a
Yeah.
fourth be enforcing idling law?
Yeah. Yeah, just call for enforcement of the
That may not be
3-minute.
sanitation though, if you're giving this to us.
What was that?
Idling may not be sanitation,
Yeah, it's DEP. Pretty
just
sure.
putting it out there. If you send it to us also, then.
But I think the police can enforce idling.
Marissa, do you think that's helpful for your cause? Just imagining you on the day-to-day doing your job, what we're proposing.
Well, I'm not a superintendent, so I don't give out tickets, so this
No, I
wouldn't
know,
affect
but-
me in the slightest.
Right, but I get that, but like the reintroduction of putting those cameras back, or not back, but like putting them on the trucks, and what we're proposing here is increasing the fines and then the sticker program. Do you think that would help?
I'm sure, I think public shaming normally helps. The stickers have helped. We've used that through social media with our illegal dumping program. And we've posted vehicles that have dumped and, we took the car and stuff, so. Yeah, I think that would be helpful. I can't speak on behalf of the camera on the street sweeper. I can't say yay or nay if that's a good idea.
Why don't we see what legislation is introduced? I mean, this is not exactly an emergency. And there are a lot of elements to it. And ultimately, the solution might be supporting an actual bill. I would just suggest that we do the necessary research and bring it back up again next month.
I think we should be on record that we support these things, whether or not the legislature is in going for them. I think sometimes, hopefully, we could be a catalyst for something.
Yeah,
So,
this
yes.
could prompt somebody to reintroduce them.
I clearly think we should be on record as being in support.
Also, the legislation isn't, it's
Yeah,
not
we need
the
to
only,
reintroduce it.
it's not the only part of our
No,
resolution.
whatever.
I take your,
So call to question.
Wait,
yeah,
what are we voting?
We just read it out, those three pieces.
Mhm.
Can you put
So
it
the
up?
reintroduction of the bill to the 2026 legislative session, increasing the
What bill?
fine.
That's a state bill.
no,
The
the city,
bill.
Oh, the city bill.
Yeah,
What-
yeah.
What is
To
it?
be putting this on.
Do you have a number?
On our receipt.
Do you have
Do we
a
want to?
sponsor?
I don't-
Do you have a
Honestly,
number?
Robert Holden was the sponsor.
Was the sponsor.
What's the number of the bill?
I have it here. It's 07642024. It's just bullet points right now. Here, I'll make it big.
Holden has the same staff and they seem to want to carry on a lot of the same policies.
He's no longer a council member.
I mean, the office, this staff stayed on to the new council members.
Phil Wong and Alicia Bakunis, yeah. But you should start, as just a tip, you should just wait and see who the new sanitation chair is gonna be at least. Which would be this month, and who would be on the committee. So at least you have someone to send it to.
This, the intro 0764, this is the city council, not the state, right?
Yeah.
We should
mhm.
specify that it's.
Okay.
And, could you, sorry, I can't.
Mhm.
read
Oh,
it.
yeah, here, is this
What-
helpful?
What does the, part about the fine say?
And if someone has multiple violations, the cost increases. That's something that you guys were also talking about.
Progressive,
I would say substantial increases.
Yeah.
Okay, we could also
what's
just vote
substantial?
on this. I feel like this is the most straightforward thing we can support for it to be reintroduced.
I actually think it's, I don't know off the top what's in there. I think it's important for them to know, we see this as a major problem and we need something done. And just to give them ideas, because they seem to be often bereft of ideas, bumping up the fines, restarting the sticker program. We also talked about the cameras. So I think,
That's the first one,
That's
the
the
cameras. That's in the legislation.
again, I don't know what's in the legislation. Assuming it's in there, that's fine, but I
You
think
don't
we
know
should
what's
be.
in the legislation and yet you're voting
Right, but
to have it reintroduced.
I feel they should know. We think there
You're a
should be
lawyer.
cameras, we think there should be more higher fines, and we think there should be stickers, and the technicalities in the legislation, I don't really even see as particularly relevant.
Well, we could
Look
say,
at this
we
truck.
could say we support camera enforcement of violations, such as
Yeah,
this legislation. Can we put that in?
Here's Shula, actually, that might be able
Oh.
to.
hey, Shula,
Shula, we have a
long
question.
time no see.
You're right on cue.
Oh, great. I'm gonna go to the part where I actually can see the screen better instead of spending something.
Didn't we find out the tickets were $65?
No,
Oh,
Okay.
we don't know. You happen to know what the, street sweeping violation ticket is the first time?
No, that's an excellent, you mean just from the bus enforcement or just from like,
Street sweep.
sanitation?
Street sweeping.
I would defer to.
Yeah, no, I don't know the answer.
I don't know that, but I can say
Forgot.
though, that we've been working, and I'm so sorry for being late, we've been having lots of communications with, Marissa and, her colleagues and also the commissioner about what everyone's talking about, right, about people not moving their cars. Sanitation's always been really responsive to us, particularly when there are certain blocks that constituents are saying are like never or feel like they're not, or people aren't moving their cars.
Right.
And so they've had, with the resources they have, they sent out like, I would say like targeted follow alongs. We've also worked together with sanitation and on 83rd Street, Parsippany Thomas in Amsterdam, and have it started as a pilot, and it's really taken, I would say, the village of sanitation and my PD and the folks on the block. Once a month, we alternate on the first Saturday of every month. It's being totally closed. No parking on that side, so the whole block can be closed because it wasn't being closed for a very, very, very long time. And we just renewed it for the whole year in partnership with sanitation and NYPD, with much thanks to them. And Gail told me this morning that 82nd Street wants the same treatment, but I think once it gets out, lots of us will want it because people aren't moving it. In conversations with Commissioner, he has that one thing that was really effective.
Sheila,
Oh, yes, sir.
could you come up? to
Oh,
the-
yes, I'm so sorry.
In fact, you could sit there.
Sure.
I just want to make sure you're being picked up.
Oh, yeah, of course, I'm so sorry. He had said in the meetings that Gail had, with Commissioner Lohan, that one of the things that had been effective, before are, and I'm gonna say that loud, because I know that people have a lot of feelings about them, but the stickers.
Talks about that.
Whatever colors they were, the stickers had been effective. And they really wanted to work together, with the council in our office they were in 2013, the council, passed legislation that stopped, the utilization of the stickers. And so they had requested, and we had introduced in the last council session, which is ended in December, a bill to bring those back. We discussed it also with the speaker's office as one of the priorities. I would say the broader priority of having the streets cleaned. And the council legislative staff is also looking through additional options that we may be able to pursue, legislatively as well.
Do you happen to know whether Bob Holden's bill, which Gail was a co-sponsor on, which, for camera enforcement, is gonna get reintroduced?
I'm not sure typically what happens, very broadly, I would say. Right now, none of the bills have been reintroduced yet, including ones that were sponsored by council members who are no longer in the council. What happened the last time, there's a stated meeting on Thursday when they're going to establish committees and also who the chairs are. And then subsequently, I believe there's going to be another stated at the end of January to maybe override some vetoes. And then also that maybe the first opportunity for council members who are currently members who also have legislations ready to reintroduce, that they could do so. They're going to be giving us the process soon on how to, let's say, for example, Councilor Holden, who's no longer in office, whoever was, maybe there's a primary co-sponsor. Anyway, suffice it to say is there may be people who are currently in office who may have the ability to quickly reintroduce that. Otherwise, council members have the option to express their priorities and see if maybe they could take on that bill and go from there.
Do you think Gail would be interested in?
Maybe. I mean, I think that's something that we hear from constituents, and I know that's germane to this conversation. The real frustration, let's say, and even, for example, I'm on 92nd and Broadway, I walked by the other day while the sweeper's coming through, who just wants to be sweeping, not laying on the horn, and there were 9 cars that stayed there, and I could see at least 3 people in the car, which,
Yeah,
riddled me that, but, and that's something we're seeing all throughout the entire district.
I
And I
see
know
that
on
on
other
my
parts.
block all the time.
Yeah, and I know throughout the other parts of the city as well.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, yeah, okay.
I told them,
Committee members give their comments on the proposed resolutions and then vote.
Yeah, we
this is
have,
Jermaine, I actually have the plain language summary of that bill. I can just quickly read it aloud. It's pretty brief.
Great, thank you.
It's, it is interest 764. Prime sponsors are Holden, no longer on council, Joseph, Brewer, Botcher, Ung, Wrestler, Hanif, Luis, Banks, Felice Hudson, Palladino, and Vernikov. Bill titles local law to amend the administrative code of the city of New York in relation to requiring the installation of cameras on street sweepers to photograph and report parking, stopping, or standing violations. The bill summary, this is plain language. The bill would require the Department of Sanitation to install a camera on each street sweeper, which would photograph and report a parking violation to the DSNY commissioner, who would report the violation to the Department of Finance and the New York City Police Department for enforcement. This bill would also require DSNY, in consultation with DOF and NYPD, to report on the number of unique parking violations to the mayor and the speaker of the city council, and post the report on its website.
So it's just a camera.
Yeah, yeah.
But it is standing and stopping and parking.
Doesn't
We-
say that.
Yeah, I
Doesn't
just,
say standing.
it does.
Stopping.
It said standing.
I just point out that might be the only time you get Lincoln Wrestler and Vinokoff on
Yeah.
the same bill. It's kind of like Jay and me.
Can we make it simple that we are in favor of cameras such as required by and
Yeah.
then put the bill in, as
Yeah.
opposed to going line by line through the 20 pages of.
No,
Yeah.
I think that's what
Yeah.
so,
I just prefer the bill.
yeah, Eric.
I think you could word that thing about increasing, because it is 65, so you could just say increase.
Yeah, you don't have to put
Yeah,
the right.
it doesn't have to
exact
say
number.
265, you can say increase it.
Yes,
Okay, cool.
substantially increased.
So yeah, or
Substantially or just increase?
I would go.
something intense,
Intense.
something intense.
Intensely increased.
There you go.
How about increase to a meaningful amount?
Meaningful to whom?
Yeah, meaningful is,
Well,
I think just
so it
increase.
competes with a
Yeah.
parking garage.
One man's substantial is another man's pocket change.
Okay, so, do we want, so the resolution would be that we want the reintroduction of the bill that you just read. And then the substantially increase the fine if someone has multiple violations and then restart the sticker program. Do we want that third item on there or should I cross that out?
Do we know anything about that sticker program? Why it was ended, what the ramifications were?
I can see why it was ended. People didn't like removing the stickers. I would say particularly in Brooklyn. But people didn't like removing them. That's, at least from the council, that was the reason why they did
Well,
it.
then they shouldn't be violating the law.
All those things I agreed upon. And I also think they're probably even, and I'm sure Marissa has like better actual data, but anecdotally, I think we've all observed that, since the shutdown, many more people have stopped moving their cars. Some of them, again, I think it's surprising people go to their car even, because if you're not gonna move it, like why even go to the car? But either which way we're seeing is that people are just not moving their car with the same way, even when people, let's say before the shutdown, there was like the dance, that people would move their car to the other side and they would double park, and
oh, yeah.
I would defer to DOT and sanitation about whether that's a good idea or not, but that's what would happen, and at least more often it appeared that the streets are being cleaned by the sweeper, it was more open. But they stopped it, I believe, in the council because people just didn't like removing the stickers.
Well,
we
those
could maybe-
stickers are a real pain. You're talking like the heavy duty ones that you have to like scrape off and use, chemicals to, it's not just like a peel off. It's like a,
Intentionally, right?
You have to
Yeah.
take some time, and definitely to Andrew's point, and we've also seen now that sanitation, and maybe Marissa mentioned this, has also been utilizing boots. I don't know if there's a better name for it, but there's also one that covers the entire dash as well. And sometimes people, I don't know, maybe even get towed, although in Manhattan, we don't have a tow pound right now. So there's complications of effort and cost and resources that go into doing all those other things. I think the approach that we had with introducing the sticker, besides it was the recommendation of the commissioner, was that it's definitely, I'm sure, costs less and requires less staffing than putting boots on and all those other components too, which then still the car doesn't actually,
Right.
the street doesn't get cleaned.
Yeah, they can't move the car.
When it's there either.
But the ticket is generates revenue, so that's the other side of the coin.
Hopefully
maybe it's a
incentivize.
significantly, maybe the penalty itself for doing it, for not being in the car and staying parked there is X. But if you're in the car and it's there, it's like quadruple. Because I could understand, like, life happens sometimes, and like something happens and you just may not be able to be there. But like, if you're sitting in your car and you're just blocking it, to me, that's like more egregious than like, something could happen for some reason you can't get there. So there's enough penalty to dissuade people from doing that, hopefully. But if you're sitting there in your car and you're blocking it, to me, that seems like more egregious than, just leaving your car there altogether when you're not
Can they
there.
put a sticker on a car where if somebody's just sitting there?
Good
Put a
question.
sticker? They haven't done that since 2013. I wasn't
Yeah.
working here, so I have no idea.
Oh, you don't know.
No, I wasn't working here at the time.
Well, so what if it wasn't working and everybody in the district hates it? Let's put it
People
on.
think they won't get
Anyway.
a ticket if they're sitting in their car. I've seen tickets issued to, for people not in the car, so they feel if they're sitting in it, they won't get that ticket.
I've also seen people that are in the car that are not the driver of the car and couldn't move it because it did, yeah.
Yeah,
Could we see the resolution again?
yeah,
If they're sitting in their car and the sweeper comes and they move out of the way, do they get a ticket?
If they move
I
for
think
the
so.
sweeper,
Yeah,
right, no, you move for the sweeper, we're happy.
okay, so we better put that in the resolution.
Also here.
So put that in the resolution,
right.
that if they move for the sweeper, they don't get a ticket.
That's pretty,
Well, that's already
that's,
the.
that's,
it's not
that's the way it is.
Oh, yeah?
And sorry, I do think it should say to increase to like, just in general. In addition to increase if someone has multiple violations.
You're right, it should be forever.
So like increase
Or
it,
progressive,
yeah, and then also,
Fine.
Oh, I see. Yeah, it's two different things.
Oh.
what about, I think at least 100. That's a good enough amount for anybody else.
That'd be 500.
Okay, I like where we're going.
Maybe a thousand.
What about flogging?
Oh, so we're not naming a figure, right? That's-
No, just
Just
increase.
joking, okay.
Yeah,
Okay, so I added idling,
cool.
so let me know, somebody wants to, make a motion to,
I'm move, so.
is there a
Second.
second?
Well, I just had a question about the
Yeah.
You
idle.
can read that?
No, I would, well, I read it here first. and then I'm like, I mean, so, on the idling, if you're an e-vehicle, you're not idling, right?
I guess.
Okay.
Yeah,
Also, and again, I do understand the pollution that Rich just said and how, important that is, but let's say you are standing somewhere where you're legal and it's 12 degrees out, you need the heat
You,
with a person
the
or an
idling law
animal.
says that below 40 degrees, it's not enough.
Oh, is that, okay, I did
Yeah,
not
yeah.
know that, okay. And what about in extreme heat, if someone needs air conditioning?
There is nothing, no provision.
No, okay.
Put it in.
What?
Put it in. You got every-
If it's
got
over,
everything else.
over 90 degrees,
No way.
you're not.
No. At least I'm not putting an amendment in.
We seconded, so
Okay, so I guess the question's, call the question?
Yep.
All in favor?
Yeah.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh,
and then
and
online,
Angie,
I'll
are you?
stop sharing so I can see them. Great. Two more.
So that's 9.
Who are the two?
Elizabeth and Andrew. So that's 10, right?
Yep.
And then no's. Thank you. Abstentions. People who are ineligible to vote. Okay,
Non-committee board members, anybody? Nope.
that passes. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, and I can send around the final resolution more cleanly written up and you can edit it.
To see it. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Oh,
Thank
thanks
you
for
so
coming
much.
here.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Okay, next on the agenda, also, we could just give each other a high five because we only ran over 4 minutes on this topic. So
Oh,
that's really
yeah.
good.
Let's try to make it up on the next one.
No, that's good.
Let's do 8 minutes of congratulations.
Okay, so the next topic is the Transportation Committee goals. So I'll just share my screen. Everyone see it?
Mhm.
Great. Okay, so thank you to those of you that submitted ideas. We got a few and then we tallied it together to this list. And Carrie, I don't know if you want to kind of explain a little bit, because this was really your idea for all the committees to do this.
Sure, and I can't even accept credit as it being my idea. This came out of a report that makes me happy here. That assembled various survey responses from members of the board and compiled a list of recommendations for how we can improve our processes. And one of the things that she had recommended was for us to be a little bit more proactive in our approach to different issues instead of just being reactive as issues would come to us. And one of the recommendations that came out of that was a goal setting exercise for the different committees. And so budget and strategy as one of our goals for this year, put forward this idea at steering, and we asked all committees to come up with a list of 4 or 5 specific goals that they thought they wanted and could realistically accomplish before we break for the summer, partly as a way just to figure out, well, how can we be putting together our agendas? Where should we be putting our focus and our energy, and what should we be thinking about as we're doing our work over the next months? And also giving us a way to really, at the end of this term, to stop back and look back and say, were we successful? What went right? What can we improve as we do the exercise again at the beginning of next year? And so that was really the genesis of this. And thank you,
Perfect.
Sophia and Ken, for putting this together.
Thanks for
Is there something
spearheading this.
underneath here?
Yeah, there is.
Oh.
Yeah, okay. So we can start with the first topic, which really, it was really Ken's idea, which is reducing traffic related fatalities and serious injuries. I think safety is a priority to all of us. I don't know if you want to speak a little bit to that and the metrics, or should I go ahead and do it? Up to you.
Well, the main metric would be Crash Mapper, which looks at state DOT data. Unfortunately, every year in this community board district, we have close to 500 injuries from traffic crashes that are serious enough to be reported. And it ranges like 450, 470. And we have somewhere between 3 and 9 deaths every year. The deaths are, there's enough variation that I think we should focus on the injuries as being the main metric. And if we could drive those down, let's say below 400, that would be a real achievement.
Thank you. And then just as we're going through these, keep in mind that this is also to help frame our conversation on the discretionary funding that we have. The community board as a whole has $11,000. So we are now trying to come up with ideas how we as a transportation committee can spend that money. So I kind of thought that this goal tallying could be helpful for that as well. Okay, the second one is actually Andrew's. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I've been harping on this for quite a while now. There are several locations, and I've identified 8 of them, where buses are held by lights, and there's really no reason for them to be that. At the very least, if you had TSP, they could adjust the light and continue to travel. There are places when they're coming off the end of their route and coming back on their route where there's a light there. It's ridiculous. And to give one example, 73rd in Amsterdam, where the M5 and the M104 is, they could easily make the turn onto Broadway and not have to do what they now do and wait and wait. So we've identified 8 of them, and I'm just hoping we can get some of those 8 through.
Great, perfect, thank you. Okay, Howard, this one was your idea. I also put Columbus Avenue on there, but yeah, if you just want to talk about that.
Yeah, I think it's as obvious as the street sweeping problem. There's, where I live, I would say there's not a loading zone within a quarter mile of my building. And I think I'm surrounded by massive apartment buildings where people seem to get, each apartment seems to get approximately 1 or 2 deliveries a day. So we're essentially all ordering food from restaurants and Amazon and Fresh Direct and so on and so forth, and making it literally impossible for them to do their jobs legally. So the goal is to have some loading zones to enable these vendors that we all patronize to do their jobs legally, and also as a consequence to have safer and more coherent streets so that there isn't constant double parking. Columbus Avenue is often 1 lane where I am. I have pictures of that too, if you find them. With Amazon actually sets up with bollards. They take over a lane. This is insane. I think there's a glaring need for loading zones. Also, just looking at other cities, there's nothing like I've never been to a city anywhere that has anywhere near as few loading zones as New York City.
Great, thank you. Elizabeth has her hand raised. Oh, we can't hear you. I think you're muted.
Sorry about that. Hi, everyone. Just a quick question about this exercise. If I understand it correctly, we are responsible, or at least this is something that we are thinking about for sort of an immediate, is it things that can be done immediately, or are they broader policy priorities? Because, you know, for instance, I'm hearing, you know, Andrew Albert provided a very specific sort of measurable, you know, intersection where something could be improved potentially over the course of the next year, whereas some of these other things, whether it's loading zones or in Ken's case, things that are, you know, reducing the number of fatalities, those are things that I see as like a little bit less measurable. And so would, are we being asked, or is this something where we want to say, sort of form our, just trying to be a little bit more tangible? And I bring up the example of like the 71st Street bike corral, right? That we worked on over the course of a year and got done. And it was like a very specific project that where there was a problem that had been a problem for a long time, and there was, you know, a chance to fix it, and it, you know, it was one intersection that helped correct a bigger problem. And I guess I'm just wondering, for the purposes of this, what we're trying to identify, if they should be bigger or overarching goals, or like very specific block by block projects that can be sort of challenges that could be met in a short time horizon.
You want to answer that, or should I?
Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I think I also, when we were putting this together, I also thought this is way too ambitious, and I said that in my email today. But when Carrie came to us with this assignment, I kind of couldn't help but, you know, we as a transportation committee, I think we had about 5 to 6 goals. And so I think that these all cover the different areas that we talk about as a committee. And I think that, you know, some of these are more tangible, like what Andrew said, but I feel like this is still a productive exercise, even if it's for long-term goal planning for the committee.
Okay, no, I just was, when I heard something saying we look back on this a year from now, it's like some of these things, like a year from now, I don't think we will be unsuccessful if we don't, you know, I mean, I think there are a lot of different ways to measure the success. And I guess that was my question, was just trying to, I guess, under promise and over deliver, and making sure that we're all headed in our goals the right direction, but that we're also, you know, we can also be specific and try to tackle, you know, maybe it's not a loading zone at every single, you know, building over a certain height, but we got 3 or 4 major important ones that were valuable for the community put in. Like that to me would be successful. So I think we're all thinking the same way. I just, it caught my eye when we were given this exercise. Thanks.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
I just want to say, we don't deliver. We just give information to the city about what we feel we need. And so I don't see anything wrong with being ambitious. And in terms of measurement, Ken's idea on the first one, there's nothing more measurable than the number of incidents. Each one of these can be measured.
Right, but Howard, it's, you just said that it's not our responsibility.
Wait,
I'm sorry.
Just finish. You can measure the number of loading zones near my building. It's 0. So these are things that all can be measured. And again, I just want to emphasize that there's nothing wrong with letting the city know that they're falling very far short of what we need. And it's for, again, them to deliver. Now you can speak.
I'll speak when I'm called on by the chairs, Howard. So
Don't speak.
I don't need to be told by you when to speak. So when I can speak. But my point is just that I think it is good for us to have some objective things. And I do think the community board can deliver. I disagree with your premise. I do think we can deliver. I think we need to establish some priorities that are concrete. I think what we're doing tonight is establishing these bigger goals and priorities, which I totally do not disagree with. I think it's really important. What I am suggesting is that there are some places where we can deliver results in certain parts of the neighborhood, such as the example that Andrew Albert provided. And I think that is something we should be thinking about as we work on this. That is all. Thanks.
Okay, Elizabeth, I don't see a distinction really between Andrew's and proposal and some of the other ones, like, we're not saying we want Central Park West to be loading zones all the way up and down. I think we'd be happy, actually, it'd be an achievement to get one loading zone in Central Park West. And then we could work on a second one in 2027. So, anyway, yeah, Jay.
Along that, along those lines, there is in fact a substantive difference between number 1 and number 2, 3, and 4 as a group. 2, 3, and 4 are aspirational toward actually recommending actions. 1, you know, everybody wants to reduce traffic-related fatalities, but all it's calling for is to look at the statistics. It's not, there's no single recommendation or advice as to any action.
Right, for a mechanism.
So my suggestion is that for a goal of the committee, which generally is to advise, we can't consent, but we can advise, and we can convey concerns. Number 1 really doesn't belong in this kind of exercise.
Well, I think it really does.
Well, can you explain how?
What it is measuring is how we're doing as a community board in making our streets safer. And
Well, it's not measuring the community board. These are overall.
it's measuring what we are doing. Like if we have let's say Ken Coghlan got his way. And we had bike lanes on crosstown bike lanes, we had bike lanes on every avenue, and we had daylighting at every intersection, and we had bulb outs and neck downs at every intersection, and all the other traffic calming devices, treatments that are available to us. I can almost guarantee you that injuries would go down in our district.
Well, then that's what you should say.
And
And
so,
it's listed on
so
the
that,
sixth
so that we're
goal.
just saying,
If you look at the
we want
screen.
to, our goal is to reduce traffic injuries, and we are going to move towards that goal in the best way that we think is the way of achieving it.
Yeah, not to get ahead, but I think that like number 6, if you look at the screen now, that gets at that first goal, but I understand how that's confusing, and maybe we should move the metrics of number 1 to number 6, which number 6 is improving pedestrian and cyclist safety through different design and infrastructure improvements.
That concept, if it belongs, it definitely belongs there as a rationale for number 6. In and of itself, it's not calling for any action. So if you want to say, if you want to take that thought and transfer it as a rationale for number 6, not commenting on the merits one way or another, that's where it belongs.
I think, with all due respect to Ken, I think we're overthinking this. I think what Ken is saying is that the DOT knows a lot about how to calm traffic. More, with all due respect, than we probably do. And he's urging the DOT to use its toolkit to bring the numbers down. And he's deferring to them to figure out what works, because they, well, again, with all due respect, know more than we do. Is that a fair summary?
Yep. We're advising them
Yes.
to.
Bring out the tools.
It may be a fair summary, but it's irrelevant to my point.
My only concern is a lot of really good stuff in here, and I support a lot of it. Not sure all of it, but a lot of it. I'm just afraid that this is kind of like an omnibus bill, where we have a whole list of stuff that is some items on here may be a little bit controversial and may not have buy-in for the entire board. So I like a lot of the stuff, and shame on me for not reading it more thoroughly when you emailed it. I'm just concerned, it is so chock full that it looks like.
Go
an
ahead,
omnibus.
Gary.
Well, and if I could respond to several of the comments. First, I don't think we need to worry about wordsmithing this or whether 6 is a part of 1 or handling it on that level of granularity. The idea for this is really to, and I think it achieves that, to think about picking up on what Elizabeth was saying. What do we want to try to have the most impact on? And this is what Alex has been trying to focus on for the board as a whole also. What impact can we make? Safety is always number 1 for us. The real kitchen sink is always the district needs statement, where we'll put our arms around all of the different ideas that we have. We'll present them to all of the city agencies and we'll say, here's what we've been thinking, here's what we've been doing, here's everything. And the purpose of this is really as an internal document to get us thinking, where do we really want to put our attention? So that when we're doing things like having a joint meeting with parks and thinking about pedestrian safety, or what are the next resolutions that we can write? This is a touchstone for us to go back to and say, are we making sure that we're actually at least putting the energy to think about how are we advancing these items? And they can be big picture items. We want to always, of course, improve pedestrian safety, cyclist safety, and they can be small items. We want to get more loading zones on these blocks. It's really just a question of, for us, reminding us where we want our energy, where we want our focus as we go forward. And I think it also helps, I know we have Colleen on the line, and similar to what Howard was saying, I think it's helpful for us to be able to go to DOT and partner agencies and say, hey, we've passed resolutions. These are the things we really care about. We've raised these issues. We're going to keep raising these issues. Here's the list. Please circulate it internally. These are the ones that, we're saying to you, we really, really care about. It's not just that we've passed a resolution. So please work with us to see how we can make an impact in advancing these particular goals.
Rich had his hand up.
Do you want me to talk here or should I?
Yeah, you gotta come over.
Okay. So 2 thoughts. I don't know how many people read the visioning document that Alex had posted on the CB7 blog. But my understanding was that the idea of the visioning, the idea of this entire exercise is to identify big objectives that the board wants to achieve every year and have each committee work to achieve those objectives. And as the report says, committees can still meet to address one-off neighborhood issues, but should prioritize work towards a main annual goal during their monthly meeting. And then the other thing I want to mention is back in November of 2015, the Transportation Committee had a resolution that was reduction of pedestrian fatalities in the district. And basically said that the highest priority for the Transportation Committee is to work to significantly reduce the number of deaths and injuries on our streets with a goal of 0 deaths and a goal of at least a third reduction of injuries in 2016. And that resolution passed the committee 8000 and passed the full board unanimously 31000. And I think that fits within the goal of this visioning, which is to set a North Star for the committee of what's the highest priority the committee should focus on during the year. When you're making the agenda each month, what are the things that are most important to focus on? And how do we work to achieve that? Or how does the committee work to achieve that North Star? And I think that's the idea. And that's where it makes sense that number 1 is in keeping with what was done a number of years ago, that the committee should focus on reducing fatalities and injuries.
Agreed.
Thank you. Yeah. And I think just to also reiterate Elizabeth's point is that I think it's really good to have tangible things. And I think that this seems really ambitious, but honestly, like, for example, advancing the 72nd Street redesign, even after we install that mid-block crosswalk, I'll see that as a win this year because we were able to chip away at that goal. So I know that looking at this, it seems like this is not attainable for this year, but it's a long term. So, okay, so if I can, okay, we have Shane.
Yeah, just a quick comment, please. In this document, we just had a discussion actually concerning cleanliness and street sweeping. I don't believe that there's anything in this document relating to what the purview of of Transportation Committee could be to enhance the cleanliness and whatever else of the district. And that seems to be important and relatively simple to do and quick.
Good point. Yeah.
That might be more Parks and Environment.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah, but thank you, that's helpful. Okay, so the fourth one is advancing the 72nd Street redesign, so. 72nd Street, as we all know, is a really critical corridor, it serves thousands of people, lots of residents, but also lots of businesses. I also I know when I'm walking down that corridor during the summer, it's sweltering heat and you're just trying to get through it, so. Things like more green space on the block. We have that crosswalk that will hopefully be installed soon. Just little improvements like that, would be really helpful there.
I think that crosswalk is there
yeah.
now.
Yeah,
Oh, is
been for a
it?
while.
Oh,
Functioning,
great.
yeah.
Okay,
It's
good to
great.
know.
Yeah.
Then that's a
It's good
win
for retail
already.
today.
Yeah.
Okay,
Just
we
like
did
just like a straight
it.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Okay.
We already have a win.
Yeah.
You still count it as a win.
Yeah. Okay, and then the fifth one is relaunching the smart curbs parking pilot in the district by rebuilding agency and community support and positioning the project for implementation. I know we had a meeting with Shula to try to get it reintroduced, and hopefully we can measure that by seeing the amount of public meetings that we have, the stakeholder representation, and then the formal support we can get from elected officials to get that restarted, and then ultimately DOT's commitment to it. And then the last one is improving pedestrian and cyclist safety. Jay, I actually had you in mind when I drafted this one, because I know that e-bikes are a big issue, and I agree, and we all want our streets to be safer. So again, introducing safety and infrastructure improvements in our streets with things like pedestrian refugee islands, raised tabletop crosswalks, or even warning strips when coming up to really busy intersections to make cyclists slow down to reduce crashes and injuries. So I think that's that on this. Do you have anything else to add? And okay, so then thinking about how we can spend our money, I was actually thinking that I would personally be interested in spending it in some of those pedestrian and cyclist safety infrastructure improvements. I don't know about you guys, but yeah, we can have a discussion about that.
Well, it's $11,000, right?
Mhm.
So
It's
what
not
will,
that
what will
much,
we
yeah.
get for that?
It's probably a brick.
Yeah.
There's nothing there about the items that this board passed two resolutions about, which are very important to pedestrians, which are registration and insurance and enhanced enforcement. And I have a question in that regard. When I raised updating our views on that subject, your co-chair and Carrie indicated that it was unnecessary because the board had already expressed its opinion on that matter. Well, we heard Rich talk about almost word for word item number one here that was expressed by the board 10 years ago. So what makes the e-bike issues, considering the proliferation of e-bike use, what makes that different than repeating what we already said 10 years ago? If we've already made our opinion known, why should we bother to do it again?
Well, we were talking about,
$11,000 to a lobbyist?
No, I'm talking about number one, and the rationale behind refusing to reconsider and update.
well, you were
The
talking about introducing another resolution.
Yeah,
And this is not a resolution, this is a set of goals.
okay, but why bother?
Why- well,
We
you
already
can
have
ask
those,
Harry why bother.
we already know about it.
Well, I think the resolution, the point's taken, but it's a different focus. And I think part of what you were talking about is actually part of this. So we
I
are,
don't
saying-
see it there.
it doesn't need to be written there for it to be
Oh,
encompassed in it, but we're talking about improving pedestrian safety and cyclist safety. And as a
Do I
goal,
look that stupid?
no, but I would never think that, but The question from this document is
You know
about
what,
setting
let's
exercise.
do me a favor, drop the subject.
Okay.
Okay, happy to. So anyway, the $11,000, what we had, one idea,
What could we do with 11? What?
I had an idea.
Okay, good.
A speed gun. And then we could,
Where are you gonna put it?
Didn't they say that
just
that's,
you take it out and you measure speeds on the street. We
Yeah,
have,
but we
if
already
we
have
think
speed
people are
cameras.
speeding on Central Park West, we can go, verify it.
are you talking about on cars or bikes?
What?
Are you talking about on bikes or?
Oh, no, God forbid.
Well, because they told us the guns didn't work on bikes.
Yeah, too narrow.
Yeah, that's what they said, yeah. But yeah, I was thinking about cars and trucks.
Oh, okay.
And just
Yeah.
to tell them though, that they're going over the speed limit,
Yeah,
there's no
yeah,
enforcement.
yeah, well, I mean, no, we can,
Do you think they care?
yeah, maybe. I mean, if there's egregious, speeding. That's just an idea.
What if they took the money that they pay the security guys in the subway and paid them to be like crosswalk people instead? I feel like fair evasion. I care more about the safety of people walking through the park than I do about people fair evading.
But we're talking about our discretionary budget.
Well, you were talking about having someone check for speeding,
We're talking
so.
about community board $11,000 budget,
Right.
what can we spend it on?
So we would, one of us would go out to Central Park West and measure.
If you pay me $11,000, sure.
Wait, so what else would you get for $1,000?
I feel like the little rumble strips, those
Oh, you
can't
can
be
get those.
that expensive, right?
Oh,
And
if it
that-
goes through the city, they could be.
Okay, but I just feel like that gets at a lot of the e-bike concerns that we hear in the community about there being speeding. And then if we put them at the start of really busy intersections, then cyclists have to slow down.
We could take $11,000 and pay all the $65 fines that people got. It'd be Angel, no, I'm kidding. Yeah, we do, at one point, I don't think it's a problem anymore, but for terms of safety, I don't know if you remember, our NYPD, the 204 precinct didn't have enough breathalyzers. And we actually were able to use some of the budget from CB7 to purchase 2 breathalyzers, which helped to implement DUI arrests in our neighborhood. Yeah, so devices like that, hardware, things that, and I'm just sort of laundry listing here, I'm thinking about.
Sheila, can you think of any needs that like that?
I can't, but I can definitely get back to you also. I mean, I've seen infrastructure was mentioned yesterday's meeting also. One thing that I think Deputy Inspector Maglianti said he was going to ask the Highway Patrol for it, which means maybe there's already one the city's paid for it that could be utilized. But one of the things that they mentioned being successful, at least the 2 that they have, that they felt there may have been some type of positive impact were the speed display signs. At least in the drives, I think they have one on the east side and also one by Columbus Circle. But it would be even better if the city already owns it. And you could use that.
What kind of sign?
They were, I think, once you see kind of all over there on the West Side Highway too, there's this is your speed, you know, and it
Yeah.
it
But they
populates
don't
in.
really work in the park. There are like 15 people going by on e-bikes, regular bikes running, and it's like, whose speed is that?
Maybe whoever the fastest one is, I guess, but I don't know how the technology works. I believe it, maybe I know who were here too. I think they said it kind of picks up the biggest mass and it clocks that speed and that's what it shows. But I think to your point, on a very busy day, it's gonna be a lot, but I think also that's more just for, let's say this, for the person who is, it could be a self-selecting group, but for the person who is, maybe looking at that for a moment and sees the speed, then similar to drivers, right? Drivers all know like what their speed actually is, because we all in cars have the ability to see it. But it could be a reminder to people though, when they see it, say, oh, I didn't realize that, like that's the speed I'm going. So it could be possible for some people, oh no, sorry. It could be possible for some people that could be helpful, but again, germane to this, I think Deputy Inspector Maglianti felt that Highway Patrol may already have some, so maybe this could be utilized, and we also could, if there's interest in having other parts in the district, and we do get complaints sometimes about like Western Avenue and trucks being there, they're supposed to be there, or if there are other speed issues, it's not the same thing as also having a camera, which, can be very effective, but then also some people avoid cameras too. If that is something like a display is something that's of interest to the community, then we can definitely request from PD and DOT. I know Colleen's on too, if there may be places that might be helpful. then we're happy to advocate for that also.
Do we, I mean, and this is tricky, so I was thinking about buying things and then giving them out, so, but we do helmet. Your office does, and DOT does,
June, yep.
right, in June. Safety lights for bikes, vests. I mean, I would, I'd really love to see, those bikes, more illuminated, and if, I don't know, these are just giveaways that, man, I'm just thinking.
Point of information, so we have to spend this $11,000? So
No.
Yeah.
what's, how does,
Well,
how's
It's
it work?
use it or lose it.
Yeah.
Right.
And we have to, we could spend it this year or else it goes away or something?
That's my understanding, although I wasn't sure if the full
Yes.
amount was available
And it's
to.
for transportation projects?
No, any
It's
committee, all the committees are being asked.
Oh, okay,
It's just we have $11,000 left over
okay.
from our budget allocation, and we have
I
to
got it.
spend it
We
within
being the
the
whole community board.
community board,
Okay.
within the fiscal year,
Otherwise, we're gonna have a really good party.
Right.
which is probably the best.
Is it
part.
something that we can use for our office? I mean, I like the idea of giving it to the community and putting it to the community, but are there things that we need in this office that, are very important to servicing the community? Do we know?
Yeah. I mean, tech support would
Yeah.
be nice, but we're getting better at it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, 11,000 might buy us maybe a month.
Well, I think, yeah, iPad, anything, whatever.
Yeah, some tech.
Yeah.
Tech.
Elizabeth has her hand up.
Elizabeth?
Yeah, I'm sorry if I missed this, but is this, money that can be pooled or is it specific for our committee?
No, it's
For the
for the whole board.
It's for the whole
Okay.
board.
So yeah, I would make a big push for whoever mentioned the internal operations of the office. I think that there are some real networking issues beyond just the like hardware technology needs, but just being able to connect in the office and so forth, I think is a real like a big issue. And I think it's something I would bring up at the next steering committee meeting, and I'm probably going to, but it just seems after 6 years since the pandemic almost, and the fact that we still have trouble getting connectivity in meetings is really something that needs prioritized, and some investment needs to be made if we're going to continue to have a functioning physical board office. That's all.
Yeah, like, look at this screen.
Yeah.
I think it was.
Yeah.
About-
Exactly. It's
That's
just not right after this length of time, and we make excuses for it every year, every month, every whatever. It's just, we've got to get it fixed. It should not be, frankly, it should not be up to, I know we've had debates about this, and I know we're all getting trained, and we should be, but there are certain things beyond any amount of training. If there's not a signal, or if there's not good connectivity, we can't do anything. And I don't know if that's what's causing the problem behind you tonight, but I think enough is enough. We really need to be professional about if we're going to do Zoom meetings, and this may be beyond the amount of money that we have for this, but I think the borough president's office, and Shula, I know you're there, and Gail is no longer borough president, but like, I'm hoping that, Brad, our new borough president, will make an effort to make this investment standard across the 12 community boards.
What does the transportation committee need to do with regard to this, though, to bring it back to, what do we need to?
We don't need to do anything.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just we're raising.
Well, no, I
it.
think when we host, Colleen, like, we need to be able to have a conversation with Colleen when she's dialing in, and not have it come in and out, or,
Do we need a resolution on this, or?
No,
Okay.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just in
Okay.
case people had ideas.
Yeah,
That's all.
and it sounds like we don't have anything concrete tonight, so maybe just think about it and then
Yes.
email us and we can talk about it again
Uh-huh.
next time. Okay, so moving on, we have new and old business.
Yeah, we're gonna save our discussion about discussion rules.
To the end.
To the end, so
Maybe.
Colleen,
Discussion
are you
rules.
still with us? Is she there?
Yeah, I'm still
here. How are you?
Yeah. believe
Oh,
it or
sorry,
not. So,
MTA updates are,
yeah, so
Okay.
we just want to make sure you'll be around we're gonna discuss briefly, 3 or 4 new business items that have to do with
Yeah,
intersections.
I will be
So-
here. I will be here.
Okay.
Yes.
So I think first we're
Yeah.
gonna, have
My screen.
MTA update.
yeah. Do you want to do
I'm
MTA update?
ready?
Thank you.
Sure. So as you all know, congestion pricing had its 1-year anniversary and it's pretty much great news. Traffic is down 11%, 27 million fewer vehicles in the congestion zone. Crossing speeds are up as much as 51% to go cross town. Transit ridership is up 7%. It's actually up even more than that now, I believe. Pollution is down 22%. Crashes are down 7% and traffic injuries are down 8%. Manhattan economy, unlike what many have predicted, is thriving. It's the best year for office leasing in 23 years. Foot traffic is up, sales tax receipts are up over 6%, and it's the best Broadway season in years. In fact, it's the second highest Broadway season in history. So much for people who aren't going to attend shows or come into the city or all of that stuff. The MTA has also gotten some very good news. It's going to receive $1.5 billion from the casino fees from the 3 casinos, which is going to go towards helping the capital program, much as congestion pricing is doing. And there was a new customer service center at 59th Street, Columbus Circle now. So we have one there and at 96th and Broadway. So we're doing better than the East Side actually for customer service centers. So if you need to transfer money from an old Metro card to an Omni, if you need any kind of assistance, you can go to either of those stations and get all the help you need. Also, subway crime is at its lowest level in 16 years, excluding the pandemic. So the scout teams, which are helping people in need, homeless people, and the police patrols, and all of that stuff is having a great effect. And the additional ridership is also having a big effect on crime. It's much harder to do some of this stuff when you have packed cars. And almost every time I ride now, the trains are packed. So this is all very good news. That's it.
Great, it's good to
Thank
hear some
you.
good news.
Yeah,
I have a question for you because I do ask this almost every month,
sure.
which is fare evasion, and I heard that there would be more enforcement. Is it the Eagle teams?
That's on the buses.
Right, the Eagle teams would start stepping up enforcement. I am not seeing any improvement. I am on buses and trains every day. And it's really disheartening. So I also,
I
I
can
had asked a
answer
long
that.
time
If you-
ago.
I can answer that.
Right, and I would like you to. The other thing is, we asked MTA and never got an answer for how many summonses for fare evasion have actually been issued year to date. And I'm not suggesting that it should be a revenue source, but I'd like to know more about the implementation of it. How many are, how many have been issued, how many have been paid or outstanding? What are we doing about fare evasion?
Well, the first issue you raised, which was on buses, within this month, I believe, if it all comes around as it's supposed to. And I mean, it was 94% Omni usage before the end of the year. It's now likely even higher due to the end of MetroCard machines and the ability to refill a MetroCard. They're going to have fare inspectors now who can, if you have an Omni card or you have your phone, they can tell when the last fare was paid, and they're going to be inspecting bus riders that way. And that's coming, and there's a lot more of them than the Eagle team was. As far as subway fare evasion, they are testing out 3 manufacturers' new era turnstiles. I've checked out the one at Broadway Lafayette. It's similar to the one I saw in Philadelphia at 69th Street. But they're testing 3 out. Some of them are very good. Some of them have some glitches, and they're working on the glitches. They also have gate guards, and they've delayed entry at some of the exit gates, but we do need new turnstiles. What we have now is a leak. And as I've told you before, 99.999% of the people who actually commit crimes in the subway system didn't pay their fare. Obviously, all fare beaters are not going to commit a crime, but that's an important fact, and we want people to be safe. And the system, the operating budget comes from fares. The capital budget gets lots from congestion pricing. It will get the casino revenue. The 25 to 29 capital program is financed thanks to Governor Hochul, completely financed, which is fabulous news. They're doing massive work on newer car equipment, new signals, new stations. We're putting in more elevators in a year than we've ever done before. So a lot of good stuff, but we need the money.
You think, we have our resident expert here, so I'm just curious, because it's discussed so much, the possible free bus program that the new mayor has been touting. Do you think there's any legs to that, or?
I don't see the governor changing her position on that, and I don't see the MTA changing the position. But what I do see, and which I know the new mayor is in favor of, is increasing the percentage of the federal poverty level that Fair Fares now is, which is now 150% to maybe up to 300%, which will mean the people who really need the help will get it. And you don't have to give millionaires free buses, obviously. The people that need it will get it from Fair Fares. And you can sign up for Fair Fares at every customer service center. It's actually going to be automatic now, enrollment in it, depending on your tax return, on your income. So we're going to make sure the people who need it get it.
Is that 100% funded by the MTA, the Fair Fares?
No, it's funded by the city.
So the
and
city, so the MTA receives the full fare for someone who's on Fair Fares, and that's reimbursed from the city? Okay, I didn't know how that worked.
yeah, they back it. And other cities have it as high as 300% of the federal poverty level, and this city amazingly does not.
Rich had a question.
I have two questions for Andrew. First is, with what you just said about raising the income level, spectacular idea. Would a resolution from the committee have any impact at all?
No, that's gonna happen, I think.
That's great.
The mayor's pretty much on that. Transit advocates have been suggesting it to when Mayor Adams was mayor, and it just didn't happen yet. But I think this mayor is gonna do it.
Second is, the MTA publishes data on fare evasion. With congestion pricing, who would be publishing data on toll evasion from obscured or ghost?
The MTA's Bridges and Tunnels
Okay,
division,
because
yeah.
my understanding is that has not yet been published. Is that something that could be published?
Well, we get some info at our monthly meetings on that committee.
Mhm.
They're doing lots more readers of people that beat the toll. They've made several stops. There was a big stop on the Verrazano Bridge, which has a fairly high number of people trying to beat the toll. It is one of the higher tolls too, so. But no, they're really doing a good job in Bridges and Tunnels.
How about congestion pricing?
You mean beating the
toll for
I don't know how you can. The camera gets your license plate.
It's purely
Yeah, but
anecdotal.
the license
I see
plate is
a
a truck.
lot of license plates that are
Oh, yeah.
flimsy pieces of paper or non-existent.
Oh, yeah.
Or like
One time there was one that looked realistic and I walked up to it, it was parked and it was weird cardboard. It was not.
Oh, yeah, no,
Sure.
there's a lot of people toying with their license plates. You could just put a plastic shield over it and
Right.
it doesn't get red.
Right.
So DOT put out a report last year that of the 10 million, Jay, Ken gave me the floor.
I beg pardon?
Ken gave me the floor for two questions.
He gave you the floor 5 times.
DOT put out a report that of the 10 million speeding events where a camera saw a vehicle speeding at over 11 miles per hour over the speed limit, 30% of them, over 3 million, were not able to be summoned because of ghost plates.
Ghost plates, yeah.
And if the number is anywhere similar for congestion pricing, it's a lot of money it's costing the
Massive.
MTA.
Mhm.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And also Gail's office put out the report, Play and Switch, about 20% of cars with out-of-state plates had plates that do not match the VIN of the car.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
9A, Henry Hudson is a state highway. So I see state police could also be involved in pulling over ghost plates, but I know that there's also been chases that there was a chase that actually culminated right here on the Upper West Side. And it was pursuant to a ghost plate and it became too high speed and they had to stop.
I think if you're convicted of having a ghost plate, you ought to lose your registration. I mean, it's just incredible.
If they're registered to begin with.
Yeah.
Unless it's a
You
damage,
should be arrested.
and you're not aware of it. And, you know, maybe you get one warning and that's it.
Not to belabor this.
Ghost plates aren't on the agenda. so-
Right, okay, but I just have to say, if it's parked.
They
there's
are
no
on
risk
Halloween though.
Of them doing some enforcement action. When the car is at a standstill parked at the curb, there's no risk.
Yeah, should be.
Absolutely.
actually.
And I asked the person who gives out the tickets, what happens when you have a ghost plate? We move on to the next car. They literally don't get tickets. They're giving a financial incentive for people to have ghost plates, which is
Incredible.
insane.
Okay, we gotta.
Okay,
move on.
sorry.
Black Star, come and take the car.
Elizabeth, yes?
Hi,
Yeah,
Elizabeth.
I've had my head raised for a while, but thanks. This is really quick. Andrew, coming out of this state of the state today, I noticed that Governor Hochul had mentioned a couple of things, and I was hoping you could comment on them quickly. The most, I guess, relevant for our neighbor, well, both of them are relevant, but the two things that stood out to me were, one, the extension of the Second Avenue subway to points west at 125th Street. And there was a discussion that I had heard related to this about how difficult it is to travel east to west, you know, given Central Park or whatever. I know this is really aspirational for the 125th Street crossing, but just curious if you could comment on that. And second was some of the safety measures she had mentioned. And third was the speeding, putting speed something in dash cameras in people's cars if they had broken the law or done something, putting speedometers or something in the cars that I think had been something that had been advanced previously and didn't make it through. She prioritized that in her remarks today. So if you could comment on any of them, I'd welcome it. Thanks.
I can comment on a couple of them, and you left out a very important one, which was the rejuvenation of the Jamaica Long Island Railroad Station, which is
Right,
the
I'm
fourth
trying to
busiest-
keep it germane to the neighborhood and right now.
Yes, well, I'm not surprised about the westward extension of the Q train along 125th Street, even though phase 3 and phase 4 of the Second Avenue subway were supposed to go south. They were supposed to go through Midtown along Second Avenue and then down to Hanover Square for phase 4. And that's been waiting and waiting and waiting for years. And it's not like Central Harlem does not have great subway service. It has lots of it. But this will connect all of those lines, obviously. And if you wanted to go across 125th Street, this will be much faster than taking the bus. And I think that was part of the reasoning. Also, the layup tracks for the work that they're doing to extend the Second Avenue line to 125th Street already goes as far as Lenox Avenue. So extending it further west to Broadway is not a tremendous deal, and the state is going to help pay for it. So that's great. As far as the other things, I have not heard those, Elizabeth, so I can't comment on them.
I can comment on the last one. Because I've been.
Yeah,
up in all
please
the-
do, Andrew.
Yeah, this is something that the safety community has been proposed last year. I was up in Albany last year and we'll be up in another week or two lobbying for this, which is it's recidivist speeders. So people that get a certain number, and again, it's up to debate. I think the proposal last year was 5 or 6 speeding or red light tickets in 12-month period would have a device put on their car that would limit the speed. So similar to drunk drivers who have to blow into something, this would be a mechanical device that would regulate the speed. We all know that Google and whatnot, and they now GPS, you know what the speed limit is on every road. This would interface with that and prevent you from going above, I think 5 or 10 miles above the speed limit. So you could go a little bit above, but it would prevent, that horrific crash last year where the woman rolled over, a whole family and killed them. And she had a dozen or more tickets in the last 12 months. She wouldn't have been able to do that if this law had been in force.
And is that going to have to that'll have to go through the legislature, right?
That state has to approve it. Yeah.
Right. Okay. But okay. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean to go on about this. Seemed to be some pretty big developments that came up in her remarks today.
If that law gets passed, it will be 6 months before there's a device being sold on Amazon for you to beat that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So it's a constant battle. So
Sorry,
we
I
need
had
to move on.
Well, I had a question on the fare evasion.
Sure.
I thought I read that there was more spent on trying to catch fare evaders than would have been collected with the fair. Was that true? or-
The MTA,
$900 million.
the MTA is losing between 900 million and $1 billion a year on fare evasion. Do
Okay.
you know how much service you can provide with that kind of
Sure,
money?
yeah, I just thought they had paid like officers like a lot.
By the way, you know,
of time.
coincidentally, the revenue from congestion pricing is about the same, it's about
Yes.
$1 billion a year.
Yeah,
But we're
Okay.
still losing it.
So, this is a good segue. So we have, 3 or 4 new business items. And the first one, I don't know how this came to us, but at least one person, maybe more, have suggested a new daytime bus route on West End Avenue. It has nothing to do with that.
Oh, okay,
That's
sorry.
already- That's further down.
Mhm.
So I know you had, I'd asked you about this.
Yeah, and I commented on it. I don't think it's likely to happen as there are buses on both Broadway and Riverside Drive.
Right.
So it would just be like between the two of them. Do you have any idea where this bus would go and who is recommending it?
No, did this come through Gail's office? Do you remember? Shula?
I have to follow up, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me about it and I emailed them. I don't see it happening, to be honest. Plus, the crosstown buses go all the way to West End Avenue, so you do get bus service there too.
Right, right, yeah, okay. So the next one is 80th Street and Riverside Drive. This was a letter that Gail got. Actually, Gail wrote a letter to the former DOT commissioner back in December, calling attention to problems so this is the car. At this intersection, there apparently used to be a crosswalk there. This is the west, I'm standing on the west side of Riverside Drive, and that's 80th Street is sort of across the street and a little bit to the right. And there used to be a crosswalk there, and there also used to be a no standing sign. And now, there is no standing sign, and cars are parking there, so there's a curb cut, there's a ramp on the east side. So they're obviously expecting people maybe to cross the street there, but you can't get through the parked cars on the other side. So Gail was concerned about this, and was talking about, could the crosswalk be reinstated? And could the no standing regulation be reinstated? So Colleen, can you say anything about this?
So, if the council member sent us a letter, we get her letters, because they're sent via email and they send them directly to me. And that gets automatically assigned to the division, that, that handles, the various issues. I'm on Google Street View and I'm looking at the intersection. And, if the crosswalk is missing, what we can do, we'll confirm that there is a crosswalk marking or a crosswalk marking did exist there. And our geometric design unit can reinstall the crosswalk marking. It's possible that it was faded. That's why it's no longer there. And if a sign has been missing, again, we'll confirm, our borough engineer will confirm that the sign was there and we'll reinstall that particular sign. So, yeah, I'll follow up with the community board and with the council member's office on this. But please note that, we would not be able to do any markings until spring because our marking season is over and the thermoplastic does not adhere, in the cold weather. So again, if the marking is missing, we will install it in spring. I'll make sure it gets expedited.
Okay, and also, the same letter, apparently constituents were, had concerns about the amount of lighting, at that corner.
Yeah, and we can have our street lighting division conduct an illumination lighting study. And we could look at the lighting levels to determine if it's adequate. If not, then we would approve additional lighting. So I'll be more than happy to do those three things and follow up with the community board and with the council member's office.
I think Sheila, you have.
Yeah, thanks, Colleen, so much. And I think one thing that also was brought to our attention by the constituents who live around the area or work, and we're also using that intersection to cross over to and back from Riverside, is that I know that there's a schedule for all the pedestrian ramps to be fixed or repaired or whatnot. And I think there was a differentiation between the one on the northern corner and the one on the southern corner. The one in the southern corner actually has two different points that go both to the north and also to the west. But the one in the northern corner only goes south. And people are still using it, and uniquely, and that's why I so appreciate you going back and looking at the signs and the history, is that if you go from 79th Street north, this intersection is actually unique, and that is one of the only intersections right now, up I think at least through the 90s, where it kind of splits off, that actually doesn't have a crosswalk going from east to west, despite having many people that go there, and clearly a history of movement.
Okay, I do see like there is a curb cut, and I wonder if that was, installed by Parks. But again, let me look at the intersection carefully, and I'll get back to you on it.
Thanks so much.
Well, while we're on it, if I may, I've been bringing this up at the P&E committee for a long time. We know that the Riverside Park side of the curb cuts are the Parks Department responsibility. At West 74th Riverside Drive, there are 4 intersections, and the curb cuts are catty corners. So a person with disabilities or with small children, carriage cannot go straight across on the north or the south side going east to west, because only they're catty cornered. So I brought it up at P&E, but now Colleen, since you're there, and obviously I guess this would be on the eastern side. So if you happen to be looking on the street view, if you see 74th Street and Riverside, you'll see that there are 2 curb cuts missing catty corner to each other. So nobody can make a straight line across east to west on either side, if you know what I mean.
My laptop is just acting up, Doug.
All right, well,
Yeah. But Doug, if you can send me an email on it, that would be great.
sure, I'll be happy to, but it is West 74th Street and Riverside Drive, and it's at
Okay.
the park. So it's their 4 corners, 2 of them are curb cut, 2 are not.
Yeah.
catty-
Okay. Yeah,
Oh,
and
thank
I know our contractor is, there's a citywide initiative where we're upgrading a lot of the pedestrian ramps. And we're going around in, like in the districts, in the various community boards and doing that. And so I can find out, when the contractor will next be in Community Board 7.
Great,
Thank you.
thank you.
So
Yeah.
then, the third item that came across the transom was something that Gail was sent to Gail, and Gail said, well, maybe Community Board 7 can talk about it. And it was from a woman who frequently crosses 79th Street at West End Avenue. And at night, because the cars coming east on West End are going uphill, the headlights were blinding her, and she couldn't tell if anything else was coming, like a bike or an e-bike or a scooter or another car. So she was suggesting, she had the idea of maybe, she asked, is it possible to put in a mid-block crosswalk between West End Avenue and Broadway? So I thought we would ask what the criteria are for mid-block crosswalks and whether those done.
So there, yeah,
Yeah, short block.
I mean, there's no doubt that we installed, or the agency has installed mid-block crossings. We recently installed one in Community Board 7, and everybody's very happy about it. Again, when we look at these requests, we have to look at the pedestrian level and we look at the pedestrian level and the number of pedestrians that are crossing that intersection, and if they're crossing it mid-block. There are lots of criterias that we take into consideration. We look at, you know, the traffic patterns on that block and in the surrounding areas. We also look at the length of that block. And I don't want to say that, you know, it's something that we would not consider entertain. I always tell the community board, if you want us to look at something, we're more than happy to study it and get back to the board with our findings. But keep in mind, you know, a request like this, you know, it may take, you know, 6 months to a year for us to do our evaluation. And there are days of times that we have to look at the study, whether it's AM or, you know, in the afternoon or PM peak rush hour and so forth.
I will note that that block is perfectly square, so that the distance between the avenues is the same as the distance between two regular streets, numbered streets.
Yeah.
Yeah, the M79 turnaround and the rotunda and the exit. I know that just temporary during the renovation, but it's complicated over there, right?
Yeah. And with all that movements, it might not even be feasible to do a mid-block there. But again, I don't want to tell you no, and I don't want to, you know, dissuade the constituent from that request. But, you know, we can always take a look at it and get back to the constituent and the community board.
Well, I
But
don't know, it's one person that.
Yeah, it's one person's letter.
Yeah.
Contact
And-
DOT.
Yeah, I mean, I live a block away and I don't see a need on that block, really. Sorry. I love
Yeah.
the one on 72nd that you
That's
did.
west.
This would be like the last block in New York to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
Okay.
and again, it's one constituent, like you mentioned, Ken. I'm more than happy if the board forwards that constituent contact to me. I can, you know, speak to the constituent and explain, you know, to him and her, you know, what the criterias are, and you know that this location, it's possible it does not fit, you know, the guidelines for a mid-block crossing.
Okay, all right. And if there's a groundswell of people calling for this, then we'll get back to you.
Okay.
So the last thing in new business is, and we've talked about this before, Colleen, we've emailed about it, is 107th in Amsterdam. And there are two issues now. What we're looking at now is if you're on the northeast corner and you're trying to cross Amsterdam to the west, you're walking west. As you can see, the scaffolding there in the wall. This is where the fire was,
Yeah.
by the way.
Yeah, there was a fire there.
Building
Yeah.
really terrible. And apparently this condition, I mean, it's gonna take at least a year, maybe 2 years to do the building. So, but as you can see, the don't walk sign is partially obscured by the scaffolding there. So is that something that can be fixed? So that-
Yes, it can be fixed. I can have an inspector go out there in the morning and speak with the contractor and let them know that they have to, you know, lower that fencing there or whatever material they have installed there, because the pet sign should not be obscured. And I know we
Yeah.
spoke about clear signage to direct cyclists in that area.
Yeah.
So I'm working with our permits office to get in touch with the contractors so that, you know, better signage can be installed along that corridor there.
Okay, as you can see,
Yeah.
this guy's walking in the bike lane. I just was there for 2 minutes and wanted to take a picture, and I just happened to get a guy walking in the bike lane. So, you know, it's not clear to.
Yeah.
I think it's clear to cyclists. I like the way they curved that barrier there. But anyway, signage would be great.
Yeah. Yeah, and I will definitely get back to you about the signage, but can you send me the photo where the pet signal is obscured?
Yeah,
And I'll
Mhm.
have that inspected in the morning.
okay.
Colleen, can't they
Okay.
just raise that walk sign a couple inches on the pole?
And listen, we can be clever. Let's see what we can do. Let's see what the
Plywood.
contractor can do.
Either that or just cut out the wood. a
Yeah,
little bit.
yeah.
That might be
I-
cheaper.
Yeah, listen, the contractor is creative. I'm sure they'll be able to do something and work around it. So we'll get that fixed. We'll
It's
have them
kind of
fix
window
it.
staff in that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you,
so
Colleen.
thank you, Colleen.
You're
Thanks,
welcome.
Colleen. We're not gonna discuss our guidelines for discussion. So
Sure you don't want to be a
you,
part of.
you know, you can stick around for that if you want. But, so we sent an email around to the committee. We actually had some very good back and forth. Jay had some concerns with, which I thought
I
was,
sent an email, I assume everybody got it,
Mhm.
hopefully everybody read it, and I would just observe.
and I just want to mention, Andrew,
Oh,
you were responding to Andrew, and then Andrew responded to you.
right, I would have responded, but Andrew beat me to it.
Quick on the draw.
Yeah.
And I would observe that if these guidelines, or whatever you want to call them, were in effect, we never could have had the discussions we had tonight. Because everybody at this table, people on screen, people who aren't on the board, spoke multiple times, back and forth, exchanged ideas, disagreed, and none of that could have happened under these rules. In addition to be violative of our own bylaws. That's my spiel.
And in what sense are they, would they violate the bylaws?
Well, I cited it in my.
I know, but if you could just refresh our memory.
I certainly can. Amazingly, I have it right here. In our bylaws, it says, when it talks about, the chairs, and it says, let me see where it makes sense. Past chairs have encouraged board members and the public to attend committee meetings where discussions can be less limited. Less limited. And the bylaws, well, where discussions can be less limited, more robust, and can allow for more back and forth debate, which is a lot of what we saw tonight.
It
And
actually says back and forth debate.
no. Our bylaws state that committee meetings are, quote, considered the appropriate forum for more detailed and lengthier discussion of matters before the board. Specifically declaring that it is our policy to allow more open, lengthier discussions than it is at full board.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that we can't.
You can do
have
it.
Some rules or certain.
Yeah, but the rules that you proposed, each committee member having one opportunity for 2 minutes. I mean, to me, I'm not sure exactly what your concern is.
I
If
think we
it's,
just don't want people speaking multiple times and repeating themselves, like the last meeting ran till 9:30. And Andrew makes a good point, is that things are not consistent, so we want people to come to these meetings and know consistently, but I completely understand your point.
yeah,
And I don't want to cut people off.
and also a meeting running until 9:30. I mean, everybody would like the meetings to be conducted as expeditiously as possible. But it's once a month for this committee. So it's really, we all signed up for 3 nights a month that we're expected to dedicate to board business. And you know what? If you're not prepared to do it, sometimes it'll end at 8 o'clock, sometimes 8:30. I've been at committee meetings and certainly at board meetings in the past that went till 11 o'clock at night. And my attitude, it may not be yours, is if you're not ready to devote those 3 nights a month, you shouldn't be on the board.
I understand that. I think that, I mean, Andrew can speak to this as well and others, but for me personally, like, I'm ready to put in this time, but at the same time, I don't want the board to be friendly to people who have an unlimited amount of time. Like, we have a lot of parents on board and we have a lot of working professionals. And I think it's helpful to encourage the type of schedule that is helpful for people to get home to those duties as well. And I think that we have richer conversations and better perspectives when we have those people on our board that are working professionals and that have kids and have different backgrounds. So I think that this allows for, not just people who have that privilege of a lot of time.
Well, I disagree. I mean, I understand that people have obligations. But if somebody is applying to join the community board and they have childcare or other obligations and they can only attend the meeting from 6:30 to 8, they should wait till their children are old enough so that they can devote the time to the board. And as far as managing the meetings, that's the responsibility of the co-chairs.
We have hands raised. Could we go around the table?
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Oh, I just want to say that whether you should be here, be willing to serve until 11 o'clock at night is not relevant. The relevant consideration for me is let's try to be as efficient as possible. If it goes to 11, so be it. But that doesn't mean we should be so inefficient that we just go to 11.
Nobody said, Howard, what are you saying? Nobody
I'm saying
said,
that.
nobody said we should be
I thought I was at the
inefficient.
floor.
You don't have
Nobody
to
said
yell,
we should be
Jay.
inefficient.
Let's
Come
let
on,
him
come on.
finish too.
I'm really not getting to say my piece on it. All I'm saying is that we should strive to be as efficient as possible, and if it goes to 11, so be it, but that we should strive as hard as possible to be efficient. That's all I'm saying, nothing more. Next.
Anybody else?
Well, I have a feeling we can strike a balance here. I do agree that when we set certain boundaries, we can be, more efficient. These are, they're aspirational, right? So these rules, I think, should be semi-permeable. So, for example, when we do set the agenda for a full board and we say we're gonna dedicate a certain number of minutes for something, it's okay if we go a little short or a little long, as long as we're kind of mindful of it. I don't know why this is this may sound completely irrelevant, but I just happened to see an interview. If you saw the interview with Julia Roberts and Sean Penn about Steven Soderbergh and why he's such a good director and how efficient he works scene by scene by scene. And sometimes they finish their projects early and under budget. And I think, it's a good idea to be mindful and to have basic guidelines to try to not repeat what someone else said, to try to have a limited number, amount of discussion, but if it becomes self-evident that we haven't really achieved the task or come to a resolution, then the co-chairs of the committee, can take liberty to say, okay, well, we dedicated 10 minutes for this, we're gonna go a little longer or whatever. So I like the idea of it, as long as it's not really hard and fast, because that's just not how life works.
What I'm hearing Jay saying is that he would miss the back and forth debate. And, we would lose that if we just had a rigid,
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with Howard and I don't disagree with Doug. I mean, nobody has an interest in meetings running longer than they have to. But the purpose of committee meetings is to have a discussion. And what we were asked to look at and talk about was very specific rules. You can only speak one time for 2 minutes. That's not a discussion and it's not a debate. I have no problem with, and again, it's responsibility of you guys. If you think that that I've got a big mouth and I'm talking too much, you could say to me politely, you already said that, or to Howard, or to Doug, or to Andrew. You could say, Andrew, we're not particularly interested in what's happening in Rockaway. We're interested in what's affecting us. No offense.
You're speaking
But
for yourself.
you understand what I mean.
Speak for yourself.
Everybody has an interest
Yeah,
in
yeah, no.
moving along,
Yeah.
and everybody wants and should have the opportunity for a back and forth. If I say something, Ken, that's totally asinine and inaccurate, you should have the ability to call me on it, or to correct me, or to debate it. And same with all of us. And if you guys, co-chairs think that we need to make more of an effort in that regard. I mean, I'm willing to do it. I think everybody's willing to make an effort to move things along. One of the things that will move things along is we don't take a lot of time on things that we shouldn't have to bother with. And a lot of that falls in your lap. You know, people phone in or email requests and want us to discuss things. You guys have to make executive decisions
Yeah.
as to whether it's worth it or if there are alternatives. For example, I think we had a perfect example with the mid-block crossing. I think what would have been a proper response is for you guys to say, you know what, you should contact DOT or you should contact the city council person's office.
Well, no, what happened was the council person
The Senate.
was
What-
contacted and she told
Okay,
the requester that we would.
Oh,
well,
it would
whatever,
be sent to us.
my point is,
So we were sort of.
my point is that you guys have to make those
Yeah, I agree.
decisions as
Yeah.
to, you know, how we can limit the areas of discussion for those things that are really important and pertinent.
And I think today we tried to limit the agenda, so we had time for discussion, and I hope you feel that was reflected.
No,
in that. We go
I
to
don't have
Elizabeth,
any,
which is-
I don't have any objection to how the meeting went and so forth. Or my big objection was to rigidity.
Got
That's
it,
my,
yeah.
that's my
This was just
objection.
a draft, and that's why we
No,
sent
no,
it,
no,
and now we're
I
discussing,
understand,
so, yeah,
I understand,
okay,
but it was very specific.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Elizabeth?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that I have had my hand raised and is an example of like I want to be polite, listen to everyone. I'm not there in person, and just a couple of suggestions that I think may be helpful as we're thinking through this. Number one, you know, as somebody who chaired the committee and has also chaired the board, I've learned to get a sense of sort of reading the room. And I do agree with Jay that I think there is a level of leadership that has to come from the committee chairs in terms of actually running the meeting, cutting people off in a polite way, but reading the room and understanding sort of when somebody has spoken their piece and moving it on to the next thing. So for better or for worse, Ken and Sophia, that's up to you. A couple of things. Number one, when one of the things we did previously, which I did not see tonight, but I don't know who is in the room from the external community, was always to call on the community first and moderate that discussion when there were Q&A before going around the table to board people, showing that we are a board that is here to serve the public. Ken, I can see your eyes go up at that. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but
Sophia and I had a disagreement about that.
okay, well, that's for you guys to decide, but I for one think that is a good thing to do to hear from members of the community before the board members speak on an actual resolution. But I do also agree with Jay that setting time limits and having people speak you know, only once is a little too draconian, that we need to let the conversation sort of flow as it should. But also another thing could potentially be keeping, I don't know if you did this for this month's meeting, but putting sort of suggested time for each item of business and really encourage board members, committee members to look at that before they walk into the meeting. So they know sort of, okay, 15, this is sort of supposed to be a 10-minute discussion. Have the foresight to think, okay, Jamie and Ken, or sorry, Ken and Sophia think that it should be a 5-minute item for discussion. I don't want to take this 20 minutes, you know? I think those are just things that we as committee members need to be maybe a little bit more attuned to, myself included. So I will make a commitment to do a better job at that. And then finally, I think it really is allowing for setting some ground rules on remote participation and in-person around the table participation, both for committee members and the public. And again, this goes back to the technology issues that we are now in the world we're living in with Zoom, how you're going to run that. And I think a lot of times the meetings do extend longer, and that process could perhaps be done a little bit more efficiently. I don't know what the answer is to it, but those were my thoughts. I mean, most importantly, I do think that the committee is a place for the discussion and debate, so that we button everything up as much as possible, so that when it goes to full board, that the same questions are not being asked at full board that could have been asked at committee. And that is why I think there needs to be oftentimes a little bit more robust of a discussion at the committee level, potentially extending the meeting, longer than a half hour to try to get in and out, recognizing people have jobs, people have lives, we get it. We trust in the committee chairs that they'll run an efficient meeting. Thanks.
That's, you make a very good point. One thing I hope that we can preserve out of this are the time limits, not limits, but guidelines for each agenda
Topic,
item.
yeah.
And we did that, for the first one, and we.
Was there one for this discussion?
No, there's 20 minutes.
Yeah,
We're already over, but.
yeah.
Andrew's got his hand.
But just, so I would, I think we should retain that if nothing else. Not that we're gonna turn into pumpkins after 45 minutes if we haven't finished discussing something, but we just say, we allotted 45 minutes for this and we're already at 50 minutes, so let's try to move things along. I don't think you'd have a.
No, I don't, I actually think that's a good idea in the sense that in advance, the committee members have an idea of the import of what it is you're discussing. If you say 5 minutes, at least we know in advance that you don't think it's worth.
It says it on the
maybe
agenda.
And it's just a guideline, and that's fine.
And maybe notice when we are gone over, like right now.
So I'm gonna just interject because I think what's happening right here, and I'm now part of what I consider to be the problem, is exactly what the problem is. And I commend the co-chairs for putting forth a proposal. I don't think what they said was writing in stone, but first Elizabeth and now I recognize it's a little bit more difficult because I'm on the screen, but I think that there's two pillars. There's the board member and committee member experience, and there's the public, members of the public experience. And there should be expectations when they're coming to a public meeting of what to expect from the top of the meeting, how the meetings are going to be run. People jump in, and I get it, especially when it's something controversial or you have a strong opinion on, you want to jump in. But this is a public meeting and it should be run in a structured way that still allows for robust debate. I mean, meeting management is difficult, and most people that are on, the community board, committee co-chairs are not professional meeting managers. And I think that if there are guidelines, it provides support to allow them to help facilitate a robust discussion where everyone gets input. No one should be able to speak a second time until everyone has been given an opportunity to speak. I think that co-chairs need to use their judgment when to jump in and say, hey, that's already been said, or you already said that again, I'm going to move it along. I think members of the public, if we really want to embrace them and have them come to meetings, whether in person or virtually, they need to feel like this is the expectation. This is when I can speak, how I can speak. Otherwise, they're just going to get frustrated. So I think what you presented could be tweaked a little bit, so people can speak multiple times, and then the co-chairs can use their kind of judgment. But I do think having a structure in a public forum especially is important. It's not a discussion of us just hanging out at the bar around a dinner table, yelling over each other. But I would love to do that with all of you too.
And picking up on that, thank you for proposing these limits. I think we should test them out. I think last night's meeting where the public had 1 minute to make their remarks, was incredibly effective. Somebody stood up and said, well, I thought I had 2 minutes, and so I'm gonna get it done in one, and they did. And it was great, and there was a timer, and that is a nice reminder to the public, to us, of exactly what is allocated for us, and I think sticking within that is incredibly helpful. Picking up on Jay's points, there are rules. Not just the bylaws, but the bylaws say all meetings are conducted according to Robert's rules. This is the legislative body. And Robert's rules say you're not supposed to speak more than twice on a given subject. So when somebody speaks for a third time, anybody can raise a point of order and it's sustained. So we already have background rules. We just don't enforce them. And this isn't meant to be a freewheeling discussion. It isn't a night out at the bar to talk about what's going on in the community, although we can all do that on any of the other nights in a month if that's what people want to do. For me, I think this is particularly helpful because I've found that one of my pain points to being on board is when we do have all of this crosstalk, extended conversations, and it's to no end. It's on things where a resolution isn't changed, a vote isn't changed. We spend 40 minutes and then something's unanimously approved or there's one nay vote. And that would have been the vote if we called the question when we sat down. So there needs to be some airing of thoughts, but when we can be more efficient, when we're not actually persuading people, I don't see the value in doing that. And so the rules are always meant to balance those competing concerns. I think this strikes a great balance towards doing that with the understanding that, of course, there's discretion to allow further discussion as appropriate while respecting everybody's time. So.
Well
thank you.
said.
Yeah.
That's really well said, yeah.
Yes.
So maybe speaking only once is a little extreme,
Twice.
twice at least. You know,
I think everyone's aware now that there's a concern about this. We're all adults.
yeah. Yeah.
I think my concern too is just, I don't feel comfortable honestly telling someone, like to Jay, you've already spoken about this, let's, so I don't, but like, if you're giving me the permission to do that, then I'll take it.
You have it.
We've always
That's-
had it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm comfortable, it's not who I am, but
You'll use the judgment, Sophia. We know you will.
I mean, that, whether you like it or not.
That's your job.
This
That's-
is
yeah.
that's the job of the
Yeah.
chairman.
Yeah. that's your job.
And it, some kind of guidelines are fine. I agree with that. I agree with, you guys estimating a reasonable amount of time on subjects based upon your judgment as to how important they are or how much time should be spent. That's fine. It's your discretion. If you see that it needs more time, then you give it more time. If your suggestion is that we should try to not speak more than twice and certainly not repeat the same arguments or the same discussion, that's not unreasonable. And, we all have to have thick skins.
Yeah.
If you say, excuse me, I think you already said that, I'll probably disagree with you, but no, seriously, that's really your job.
And you can start
I
now.
think this is my second,
Okay, yeah.
this is my second time speaking, I think, if I'm allowed
Yeah.
to speak. I just want to say that, again, so some of the little tricks are, I'd like to, agree or second what Howard said, or, associate my comments, and then boom, you've just saved a lot of time. But I do agree that there's a certain finesse and art to this.
Mhm.
And, there is an argument to say that a fluid discussion where people feel safe to express themselves can actually really come up with some interesting creative ideas, but it also can then get protracted and then be problematic. So
Mhm.
it's not a perfect science. There's
Yeah.
an art to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now we talked about it and now we have the authority.
I
so
guess-
it's
I
helpful.
guess-
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of have an understanding. I guess we could go back and maybe
Edit the rules.
edit the
Yeah,
rules a
yeah.
little bit. And they're not, I don't think either of us saw them as rules. We see them as
Guidelines.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's comfortable.
That's fine.
Yeah,
Yep.
so.
I gotta
And
tell you, when I was appointed to the board, I think it's 14 years ago.
So we were in the same class.
Is it that much?
Yeah, 2009.
The first full board meeting that I went to after 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I went, holy, what did I do?
Yeah,
Okay, well,
And if I
thank you.
could,
This,
if I could just add one last thing, just really, whoever mentioned the time limits, from last night's meeting, whoever was there, raises a really good point. One of the things that I did when I was chair was tweaked that language to say, instead of saying you're limited to 1 minute or 2 minutes, to saying you're granted 1 minute or 2 minutes, which makes all the difference to somebody on the outside because it makes them feel included and not like they're being limited. So that's just another suggestion of something that, in an effort to try to make folks from the community feel included, and that their input matters. Thanks.
thank you.
I just want to point out the last night's meeting was kind of different. It was a quote unquote listening session to hear the community, and as opposed to discussing a resolution or something like that. But anyway, why don't we take another hour to talk? No. Yeah.
Or 9 PM too,
Yeah.
so this is good.
Sorry, new business, you wanted to do something regarding the, loading zones for large apartment buildings?
Oh, yeah, we're gonna talk about this in February is, you know, we've heard two things from the board. One, we need to, take, loading zone requests, or no parking requests on a case-by-case basis. And then when we do that, we hear that, we need rules and we need criteria. And, we can't deal with this on a case-by-case basis. And sometimes I think it's the same people who are saying different things, different meetings. But anyway, there were enough people at the last meeting who thought we should come up with criteria for no parking zones in front of buildings. So I think we should try to tackle this. We tried it 6 years ago when Steve Brown was chair of the board and as a committee, and never got out of committee. We couldn't agree, but I'd like to try again.
Is there a way for us to get out of this business entirely? Because I think part of the problem, my personal struggle in thinking through this issue is I am not opposed to there being loading zones, but I can see doing it on a case by case basis, how it doesn't subsume the neighborhood and putting several on every block. What I personally think is appropriate is for us to say, we don't oppose loading zones anywhere, but we call on DOT in installing them to holistically evaluate the block. What I'd really love to be able to do is get data from the Smart Curbs program and say, roll it out district wide, because that gets at the issue. And I think part of the concern is that if we're going to say yes to a loading zone, we're taking a particular position on how the block should be used when to the exclusion of any other ideas that are out there, which is where I think we sometimes get that contradictory friction. So if there's some way to do that, I think it would be helpful.
Okay.
Yeah, remember I asked you at a full board meeting if DOT has an application process for loading zones. And I asked you if you knew whether they had any criteria, and you said no, nothing. Are we sure about that?
Yeah, I should have asked Colleen.
Yeah, I mean, why don't
I can email.
Yeah,
Colleen.
I mean, and if there's somebody else she can refer you to who handles these, the people that handle them, even if they're not statutory or rules, but informal guidelines. So we know what they use.
Right.
Which can certainly, I mean, if they use a set of guidelines and somebody comes before us asking for a loading zone and it meets none of them, we don't have to spend it. And, but, you know, if it conforms to those guidelines, then, you know, we can at least legitimately say, okay, this is real.
But in answer to what Carrie, what you said, I think we have to opine on requests before DOT is going to act on it, but I can check on that too.
Yeah.
Whatever the DOT's policy is, and they may have a policy and we should know it, is our whole function is to comment on city policies. That's what we're here for. So I think it's worth weighing in, and to your point, if we don't weigh in, there's the default of car storage. So it's if we don't weigh in again, no decision is a decision, is to allow the 13,000, that's the rough estimate of parking spots on the Upper West Side to stay as 13,000 parking spots. Do we want, so in a way, we are making a decision by saying we won't touch it. So I think maybe having a policy that the board would vote on, I'm not saying that I'm sure I'll vote for it, but the point being that to come up with some policy that would result in some spots, not all 13,000 being available to, let's say, larger apartment buildings with mobility impaired people or older people, whatever, to have the ability to turn one or two of those 13,000 spots into a loading zone and to, again, allow the board to vote on that.
Well, as Howard always says, DOT are the experts. So let's take the first step.
Yeah, that's the first step.
Find
I
out
agree with that.
what their
Okay.
process is,
Okay.
how they do it, and then, we can see how we reasonably fit in.
Yep.
So we're probably gonna talk, depending on what DOT tells us, talk about it on next month.
If I may, I think what we tried to do, I understand we tried to, but what was attempted was a wholesale approval. And of any building, I guess it was over 50, and it became a ministerial thing where it didn't actually go to committee, it went into our district office and basically it was a check, oh, you're over 50. That's a different thing I think we're talking about here, which is kind of dovetails into the conversation we just had, which are guidelines before they get to the committee, and if they don't sort of meet general guidelines, which may not be rigid,
Right.
then they may not get here, or they do if they do.
Sort of like the secondary street naming.
Yeah, and obviously that's controversial too, and I know how you feel about it, but yeah,
Well, we know what the first step is.
yeah, see what DOT.
To find- see what the,
Oh, yeah.
No, sorry.
Oh, I saw you. All right, so motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Motion made.
Yes.
Before 9.
All right.